5/23/17. Also, note for your packet, there's a revised resolution number 17012. And also acknowledge that the planning commissioner or the township board has got a copy of the planning commission minutes of May 18th for the Lake Point item 10C. We'll get to that.
Terry, would you please add call to the public as well?
Item before B. under
Before
public.
5, actually?
Yeah, we'll name it 4A.
Yeah.
Also add the public comment.
Typo, folks.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
Wigan Lane, 48386. President of the Friends of the Library. My understanding is we want to delay issuing a bond, which was approved by 2,622 people this past summer. We worked hard all during our millage campaign, and we had frequent meetings. Not once did any of the workers ever say that they were approached by neighbors, friends, or whoever, saying, why don't you wait and do it all together with the township hall? They gave us our trust to put in a 30,000 square foot library soon, not later. If you're proposing a bond issue for a township hall, combined with our library, I think we're going to have a lot of unhappy voters. Very unhappy. We left West Bloomfield amid a lot of scandals in Township Hall because of all the shenanigans that went on here. It was publicized in the papers. I hope it's not going to be repeated again. The people that put our trust in us, they don't want to wait 4 to 5 years down the road to build. They have young families who use that library. We have older people and a lot of people who can't afford internet. We need more ability to do that and have private study rooms. More room for our book sales, which generates quite a bit of money for the library. So I ask you, please reconsider. I know you want a township hall, that's wonderful. But we need this library now. We're a growing community, but the people who live here want it now. The library is really a community center of the township. They don't hold things here. What goes on at that library. So please reconsider postponing approval of our bond issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak? Me. Identify yourself.
Charles Schott, 417 Rosario, White Lake. I'm a precinct delegate, precinct 1. Oh, sorry. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to the board tonight. Mr. Supervisor, members of the board, I bring to you an issue about a statement made at the April 18th Township Board meeting. At that meeting, in her official capacity as an elected Township trustee, Trustee Liz Smith knowingly made a false statement in regards to a police disturbance regarding herself. Mr. Supervisor, Trustee Smith has repeatedly lied, made a fact in error in statements to the public, saying that there was no official police report, when in fact there certainly is. I got my copy on February 17th. She was directly involved in this incident. Everyone in this room and in the cable audience can easily request a copy of this report, case number 3241. All you have to do is contact the White Lake Police Department. Trustee Smith is clearly labeled in this report. On February 14th, Trustee Smith was one of the 2 people involved in a disturbance at Houghton Elementary, resulting in the school calling 911. At the February 21st board meeting, at approximately 1 hour 13 minutes in the video, Trustee Smith said no official police report was filed to my knowledge. Well, like I did, all she had to do was walk around the corner to the police department during normal business hours and request a copy of the report. She was in fact interviewed by Officer Barber and named in the report identifying her as a trustee. Ms. Smith works for the township, a duly elected official of us, her constituents, the voters. Once again, on April 18th at this White Lake Board meeting, she recorded a public statement at approximately 2 hours 14 minutes in the video. She once again lied to us, the public, saying that there was no official police report. She stuck to her inaccurate statements, again saying that no official police report was filed by the White Lake Police Department in response to a disturbance caused by her. Trustee Smith also stated that she talked to the police department. The police chief, she confirmed that he said she did not cause a disturbance and a formal police report was not filed. I doubt that our honorable police chief ever stated that since the White Lake Police were indeed called to the scene, a call for service, CFS, and because an official police report was written and submitted. She stated that, and we hope inaccurately, for the reputation of the township and our board, she had the full support of the supervisor and others, implying that you, the supervisor, and the township board members supported her in her statement of saying there is no official police report, when in fact there was. We, the voters and the citizens of White Lake, hope that this type of behavior is not swept under the rug and is addressed by you. We hope that it is not supported by you or in any other members of the board or in leadership at the police department.
Thank you. Shot clock. Caught me off guard, different sound. That's all right. Anyone else for the moment? Going once?
Well, my wife has already spoken. I'm Roger Harrington, and the address is 2240 Wigan Lane in Pontiac Lake. We were the co-chairman, or co-chairpersons on the recent bond issue that was passed in White Lake. We worked hard to pass that bond issue because we knew, based on our time in West Bloomfield, the value of a great library. Their library is 78,000 square feet and was voted to be in the top 10 in the nation. I worked at General Motors in the real estate division, and when we chose to build plants, we knew what our employees wanted. A good school system, a safe community with a good police and fire department, and fair taxes. And they wanted a good library because that was usually the focal point in any great community. Never mentioned was a great city hall. While many of you on the board opposed the effort to build a new library, we were able to convince the majority of the citizens to vote for a new library to serve the future of White Lake. This is not a wealthy community, and many are seniors or citizens who could not well afford to pay an additional assessment. My wife and I are closer to 80 than we are 75 and have no children of school age. But those before us paid taxes and assessments to support the schools and the libraries for our kids. And we're here to pay for a future township that we may not live to see. Those who voted for this library will be deeply disappointed with this board if you derail this proposed library. The library has purchased the land, chosen the architect. It's time that you finally did your part in moving this bond issue quickly along. If not, the voters will act accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have something, ironically, I'd like, do I need to stand?
You need to stand, you need to state your name for the record and the sort.
Okay. My name is Eileen O'Donnell, and I just moved into
What's your address?
It's 1074 Village Drive.
Okay, thank you.
And I just moved into the area, and ironically, I was going to the library, and I looked online, and I saw that I've driven by this one several times, and I saw that it's a smaller website, and the other one said that I could, once you join one, you can go to the others. So I thought I would just go right to the Waterford one because I wanted to have the more, access to more stuff there. And I go there, and of course, I have to originate my, registration here at the one where I live. So I happened upon your meeting. It wasn't my intention to even come about. So, but speaking of a library, that I am from this area, but I was choosing to go to one farther down the road because specifically, I came in this door. I don't know which door was the library. I saw the people gathering. It was, public hearing. So I am in support of whatever bond was voted for, enhancing your library.
Thank you. Yes, dear.
Susan Deal, 9170 Twin Lakes Drive, White Lake, Michigan. I'll go on the record to say that I was a person who did not vote for the bond for the library. My understanding also is that the bond only passed by 2 or 3 votes, a very small margin for those who voted. I will say that I am an active user of our White Lake Library right now. I enjoy it. I enjoy everybody that works there. I think we have a superior service that we give to our citizens here in White Lake. My concern is that there's a lot of rumor, innuendo, or even miscommunication going on about the library, and the one that came to me was that there is another option for the library that would save taxpayers almost $8 million. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was a big number for me. So I thought I would show up today and say if we have another viable alternative that's going to save our taxpayers $8 million, that the board needs to do its fiduciary responsibility and due diligence to make sure that you are making the best decision for everyone, not just the users for the library, but all the taxpayers in this township. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, dear.
Peggy Miller, 3066 Fairfield Circle, White Lake, 4833. I also am an avid user of the library, as are my daughter and my grandkids, but I did not vote for the bond. I felt that we had actually more need for a new township hall than we did for a library at this point in time. However, having talked to people about this since the vote, I've found out that the previous supervisor was the one disinterested in working with the library to have a combined service. We now have a supervisor who I understand is interested in combining the services and using the economies of scale to make one building that would accommodate both a new township hall and a library. And I, for one, would be more than happy to wait another year or 2 to get the library if we could combine those and do something that was more responsible with our taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
There's people in the hall.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My name's Dennis Feems. I live at 9095 Satellite. I've been a resident of White Lake Township for 50 years. I support an independent library building. If you look at West Bloomfield Township, they have a civic center, but they have separate facilities for each major function so that people aren't confused. You know where they all are. You look at Waterford, you see the same thing. A combined building, it seems to me, makes it harder to add in the future. It is hard to purpose build. I have seen some of the potential designs for the library. They are very thoughtful. They are very well integrated. And because I went to a public meeting where they were on display, it was not a big secret. And I think that the township trying to hold this up is really an error on this topic. That the library is leading this move to create better facilities, and I don't think that they ought to be hampered. And by the way, if you win an election by 1 vote, it's as good as 1,000,000. You win, you win. You lose, you shut up and move on. Thank you.
Anyone else out in the hallway that has anything to say?
Is there a lot of people?
How many people are out there?
How do you feel? Do we have an issue with
Case in point.
But you need to accommodate everybody, so maybe we can squeeze people in.
Nobody acknowledged that here at all.
If we can squeeze a few more people in here, because I'd like to make sure that everyone can clearly hear the meeting and participate if they so desire.
I know, but still.
Gonna set a record.
Oh my God. There's room by Larry over there too. There's room by Larry too.
I think a lot of these people are going to clear.
They're gonna clear out as soon as we do the new officer presentation.
Awesome.
I didn't know we had this many people.
Look at that. That triplets.
No.
We, our honorary sergeant at arms over here, does everything look good?
4 or 5 more out there.
Are they within hearing distance? Okay.
They can hear you now.
Okay, all right. Are there any other people in there that want to come around to this other side that might be able to hear better on this other side?
There's a few chairs if anyone needs to sit down.
There's chairs in the front,
There's one here. At least one.
the third row, there's a chair too.
Okay, everybody more or less within earshot? Okay, all right. Now, we were going on with public comment. Is there any other public comment that needs to be? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Curtis Martin. I'm at 2245 Wigan Lane, 48386. Whether or not I voted for the bond issue has nothing to do with where the money needs to be spent. My concern is if you combine these buildings, how do you combine the bonds so that those who work so hard for the library know that their money is being spent on the library and not other facilities? Thank you.
Anyone else, public comment? Last call. Oh, yes, sir.
Stan Freeville, 9645 Steep Hollow. I understand what we're here, what we're talking about, but why are we talking about it? Was this decision made at a regularly constituted board meeting, or was it at this special meeting you were talking about?
What decision are you referring to, sir?
Well, the decision we're talking about with the library to combine the library.
There's been no decision made
No decision.
But,
at this point.
okay, but why, apparently it has been discussed because it, and not on in a regular board meeting.
Yeah, there was discussion last night at a regular board meeting.
Special.
A special board meeting, I beg your pardon,
okay.
special joint board meeting that was held open to the public at the library last night for an introductory discussion and conversation regarding the possibility of conjoining two facilities for economies of scale and economics and for sustainability of the library and the Township Hall. It was merely an introductory conversation, period. No decisions were made, nothing other than an opening of dialogue. It is the first time that I can recall in the history of this board that I know of that the two boards have actually met in some sort of an open session. And it's long overdue, okay? So we took the opportunity to have the two boards meet and just open a dialogue to discuss in primarily the new Civic Center campus and the campus overall and any possibilities up and possibly including conjoining buildings on the same site. That is all that happened. Shut the rumor mill off.
Okay. I appreciate you clearing up that point, but I just wanted to say that I will support Dennis Feems. Our neighboring townships all have separate town halls and library buildings, and I think it works very well.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Anybody else? Yes, dear.
Okay, I'm Mary Ann Carr. I live at 2553 Porter Road here in White Lake. I moved here with my husband 36 years ago. For the last 26 years, I've worked at the White Lake Township Library in children's youth services. In that position, it's my job to advocate for children in White Lake and their families and their caregivers. So that's the reason I'm here tonight. It's our job to build and maintain the best library services that we can for the children and families in our community. I came into this room on August 2nd, 2016, in this very room to vote for a new library. I didn't vote for anything else regarding numerous parents came in to say that this election was the first time that they had ever voted, that the results were so close, that it was a learning experience to share with their children that we live in a democracy. Your vote counts. Your opinion does matter. And they were able to show them it's important to get out and vote and express your opinion. We've had multiple families come in and say the same thing. They ask all the time, when are we going to break ground? When will the library be completed and we move in? Over and over we hear these questions. So I'm hoping that even though it was a close election, that our township board will do what was written in the library bond proposition that I said yes to, that you will do your general obligation to the unlimited tax bonds for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, furnishing, and equipping public library facilities, and acquiring and improving the site thereof. That is what 2,623 people voted yes, and I was one of them.
Thank you. Yes, dear.
Diane Shanowski, 22.
You got some competition.
2205 Tiger Lake. I was at the meeting last night with the two boards. The presentation that Supervisor Kowal gave, I felt was wonderful. I understand the concerns of the library board, but first and foremost, both boards need to be fiduciary responsibility to make the most of what the funds are available. And I truly believe that the way it's been proposed, the combining the services, it's a smaller environmental footprint. The costs can be shared. There are delays in things all the time. There are things that I want to do in my home that I either can't afford or I don't have the time to do, and it's just the way of life. We will, if we do these things right, this is an opportunity. And a lot of these other townships that have both, their things are not combined, they didn't have an opportunity at the time. One was done at one time and the other was done at another time. We have a golden opportunity to save the township taxpayers money. After all, it is the taxpayer money. It's not the library money. It's not the township money. It belongs to the taxpayers. And I want to see you guys do your jobs to save money for me, because I'm on a fixed income, and I know there are a lot of us here in this township. Yes, I do use the library. I am a supporter of the library. I did not like this ballot or this bond issue. I voted no. Not because I don't appreciate the library, but because I thought it was 30,000 feet, I think, is more than we need. But neither here nor there. I think we have a golden opportunity, and I think it behooves us all to step back. And I was really disappointed in a lot of the attitude that I saw on behalf of the library board last night, where they were not even willing, several were not even willing to even entertain it. It was in the body language. They wouldn't look at Representative or Supervisor Kowal as he was presenting, and I was very disappointed. So I hope that these individual issues can be resolved, and sometimes you need a peacemaker in there, and it is a communication issue, and you cannot hold this board responsible for what the previous board or supervisor did. So I hope that there will be a meeting of the minds and that we can come together and resolve this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Denise.
Denise Stefan, 11102 Windsor.
Please give that to Lisa. We give that to Lisa.
I just want to let everyone know that the meeting was recorded and will be posted sometime soon on YouTube. You can listen to it and judge for yourself. take out an hour worth of time when the township is doing their pitch and listen to the library board. They work very hard. I am the assistant director. They work very hard for this position for you. We found out about this really 2 days ago, 3 days ago. To say, yeah, they were surprised or defensive. They've been working very hard. They don't get paid. You're doing it for the good of Township.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, with that, we'll close public comment and we'll move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Clerk.
Consent agenda?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda with the addition of the new list of bills dated 5/23/17.
Support. Under discussion, if I don't know if the police, yeah, he is here. Chief, there is a very large increase in the tickets presented and the warnings last month for traffic. And I wondered if there is a concerted effort to do that. I mean, almost a 40% increase over the previous year and the previous month. And I didn't know if there's any concerted effort to write more tickets or issue more warnings, or are we just all driving too fast?
You're driving too fast. I put out no issue of memorandums saying that we need more tickets. The officers, if they feel that the individual who they stop needs a ticket, they get a ticket. If they don't, they give them a break.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion by...
Jerry made the motion, I supported.
You supported it? Okay, you had your question. Motion and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passes. Now it's time to move on to presentation. And Chief, you have a job to do.
I want to apologize for all the babies in the room. That's
No,
that's
that's
my
great.
fault. Mr. Moore, can you please come up? What's that? They're not mine, no. Not mine. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it. It is with great pride that I get to introduce Stephen Moore to the township. The police process to hiring a police officer is arduous, and it takes several months. You have to apply, and in that application, numerous people apply, and we don't accept everybody because, frankly, they're not good enough to work for White Lake Township. They take a written exam, and they have to get high scores. We don't accept everybody from the written exam. Many people fail. And then they go to the oral interview where they go in front of the Civil Service Board, and they have to do well enough to pass that. Once they get through the oral board, then they have to do a background. Sergeant Hill and Sergeant Iver do the backgrounds, and it is their job to make sure that this is the right candidate for this police department. That is the key to success for the police department, is doing a proper background to get the right people here, because they're going to be here for 25 years. So it's not an easy process. It's not an easy thing to accomplish. And that's why I get so excited when we do these things, and I made him bring his family. And there's all the kids are running around every place. That's why I said it was my fault, because I'm sure I apologize to Mom and Grandma and Grandpa and the kids. But I want to introduce Stephen Moore. He is 33 years old. His father is William. His mother is Lynn. His wife is Annie. Where's Annie at? Hi, Annie. Thank you for coming. I apologize. And they have 6 kids, which are running around all over the place. He was born and raised in Romulus, Michigan, where he attended and graduated from Romulus High School in 2002. He attended and graduated from Eastern Michigan University with a bachelor's degree in media and communications. He attended Mott Community College, LERTA, which is their police academy, and that's where I taught at the time. That's where him and I first got to know each other, because I'm a defensive tactic instructor. So when I saw him apply for the job, I was elated, because I know what kind of person he is. He has good morals, good character, and he's a good man. And he currently resides in Swartz Creek with his family, and he loves to golf, which is good. So do I. Before we get to the swearing in, can we bring up Maddie, please? Because she's going to be Come on up. She's going to pin the badge on.
Oh, cool.
So, Mr. Lilly, it's all yours.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
I will support the Constitution of the United States
to support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully perform
and that I will faithfully perform
the duties of the office of
the duties of the office of
police officer
police officer
for the Township of White Lake,
for the Township of White Lake,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
State of Michigan,
State of Michigan,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Good job.
Welcome to White Lake.
Welcome.
One more.
Congratulations to you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to White Lake.
Okay. Now, at this, we good?
We're good. We can move on to the next presentation.
Chief, you have another presentation, which is a life-saving award for one of our officers. One of our officers here, she's very, very committed to the community, and I know that she's had other occasions to come to the aid of persons in need. And of course, there was an opportune time when some people had to come to her need because she was attacked by a flock of turkeys. So that's a true story. Okay. But you know, some things you will go down in history for no matter what. Chief, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I just want to, is Mrs. Todd here? I wasn't sure if she was going to be able to make it because of... Okay. If you want to come up, that would be great. Sounds good. Thank you for coming. All right. On November 24th, 2016, at around 20:44 hours, which is about 8:44 in the evening, Officer Snow responded to a 911 emergency call for medical assistance on Jenny Marie in White Lake Township. Officer Snow responded as quickly, directly as possible to the residents. Upon arrival, Officer Snow found Mrs. Todd to be in medical distress and being cared for by her family. Mrs. Todd was unresponsive and not breathing. With assistance from Mrs. Todd's family, Officer Snow moved Mrs. Todd from the recliner to the floor where she could be treated. Officer Snow began to perform CPR with chest compressions and rescue breaths. Officer Snow continued CPR by herself for approximately 3 minutes until the White Lake Township Fire Department and Star EMS arrived on scene. Officer Snow assisted the White Lake Township Fire Department and Star EMS with rendering aid. Mrs. Todd was quickly taken to the Star ambulance and transported to the hospital. I also want to add that Lieutenant Jason Crean from the White Lake Township Fire Department, EMT Charles Hughes, and EMT James Sperry of Star EMS, who responded to the scene as well, stated that they believe that Officer Snow's quick actions and performing CPR is the primary reason that Mrs. Todd survived the medical emergency. Therefore, on this date, May 23rd, 2017, it is with great pride that I issue Officer Snow this life-saving award. Congratulations.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Thank you so much. White Lake, so lucky to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. We'll move on to item 6C. It's a presentation by Congressman Dave Trott's office.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Mr. Supervisor and board members. My name is Deanna Schaefer, and I am here today to introduce myself. I am the Deputy District Director for Congressman Dave Trott's office, but I'm also here to introduce his office here located in Troy on Big Beaver and Rochester Road. The Congressman proudly represents White Lake as well as the rest of District 11, which includes Western Oakland County and Wayne County. The Congressman has two offices, his Washington, D.C. office, which handles most policy and legislative matters. But then, like I was saying, our district office here locally handles constituent services as well as community engagement. So a few of those constituent services that we offer is help navigating federal agencies. There can be a lot of confusion if you're trying to get help from federal agencies, specifically the VA, the IRS, Social Security. So if you're ever in a situation where you're having trouble with those agencies, please feel free to give our district office a call. We have a lot of caseworkers on staff willing to help at any time. Also, a few other fun items that we do out of the office in terms of community engagement. We run the Military Service Academy program. We also process tours for capitals, the Capitol in DC, flag requests. And then also, we give out community recognitions, specifically things like Eagle Scout Court of Honors, or to recognize somebody's wonderful achievement in the community. Overall, the Congressman is, again, proud to serve White Lake, and I have a few information brochures if anybody is interested, and please feel free to reach out to the office if we can ever be of assistance. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Deanna, if you have any of those brochures
Yes.
left over, if you could leave them on the counter here, too.
I'll be
make
happy
sure
to.
they're at the front counter.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 7, the minutes from April 18th, 2017.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to approve the minutes as presented.
I have a motion.
Support.
A motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it. Minutes are approved. Now we are moving into a public hearing regarding the Special Assessment District for the Castlewood Sanitary Sewer Connection. Janine, anything you want to add? Yeah, I know.
Motion.
Yeah, I knew
Make a
that.
motion to open public hearing, Mr. Supervisor.
I have a motion. Do I have support?
Support.
Motion and support. Do we need to do a roll call on that? Lisa, do you want to do a roll call vote on opening public hearing, or is it general?
Yeah.
Just a regular. Yeah. Pardon? Roll call, yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
On a roll call?
Yes, please.
Liz Smith,
Yes.
Mike Paul,
Yes.
Andrea Voorhees,
Yes.
Scott Ruggles is absent, Mr. Roman,
Yes.
Mr. Lilly votes yes, Mr. Cola.
Yes. Public hearing is now open. Okay, at this time, is there anyone that would like or have any comment on the Castlewood Sewer Special Assessment District? Sorry.
There you go.
Is that better? Okay, sorry about that. Okay, at this time, we're opening it up for any public comment of a sort for the Castlewood Special Assessment Sewer District. This is a district that was set up by Charter Township of White Lake. We took it upon the desires of the people to set up this sewer system in that area, and we've already pretty well established the role at this point. So I believe that's what we're going to, and the bond, voluntary, this is a voluntary, I beg your pardon. So, any questions from the board members?
I have a question for Janine. There were several people that were indicated on the original request for public hearing tonight. Is there some of those that have made other additional comments that would like to be removed from
Yes.
the current request?
Yeah, you have three that want to be removed. So, Vicky Podner. I don't have her first name. I'll find her first name. One of them.
It's 1234, 331-026 is Podner.
Thank you. So that one needs to be removed. Let me find the name on this one. Mr. Newsome.
That's 1234, 329-028.
Yeah. And Jessica Wood, 1330 Castlewood.
And that's
Those three-
1234, 329-043.
Thank you. Those three have requested to be removed, either because they're not going to hook up right now, or they have chosen to pay cash.
Has there been an agreement signed?
No, this was just by petition. There's no agreement signed on this.
Very good. Any questions of the board members? Yes, sir. Oh. Mr. Lilly?
I guess the bottom line, we're down to 5 applicants that have chose to be financed for a hookup to the sewer system. But-
Okay.
I guess I had a couple questions. Since we're down to 5, does it make sense, and can the township have a fund to be able to support this request without going through the SAD process? That's the number one question, and maybe staff can answer that. And Janine, this being a voluntary SAD, obviously there's nobody that's going to come out and oppose it. Is the price per home the same, spread over the 5 people that have requested to be part of the SAD? In other words, it's not different for everybody, is
Yes,
it?
it is different for everybody.
Oh, it is.
They all already got estimates from
Okay.
J&A, so it's based on their personal estimates.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I think this is public hearing. I think once we leave public hearing, I'd like to discuss more about
Okay.
the semantics of this.
Yeah.
Any other public comment?
Just so that it's clear, this is the second step in the process. If you recall, there's 3 steps in the creation of a special assessment district: the intention, the establishment, and the confirmation of the role. The resolution that you have in front of you actually schedules the public hearing on the special assessment role. This establishes the district.
Correct. Any public comment?
Charles Shop 417 White Lake, the 3 people out of 5 that said we don't want to do it, in essence they did reject it. Is there any risk to discharge into public waterways instead of the sewer?
At this point in time, they're not mandated to hook up because their systems are not in failure, and that's under the Fulton County Health Sanitarian Code. If their system goes into failure, then they would be required. This is just merely an opportunity to hook up to the newly installed line that was run through the neighborhood to be part of this group. So it was an opportunity that was offered to them. They declined to do so at this point. Yes, dear.
Diana Shanowski, 2205 Tagardine Road. I just want to make sure that we will not get stuck in an issue like we did with Pontiac Lake. I don't want, that ended up being a huge problem. So I'm just hoping that you crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's, so that the rest of us won't be on the hook for anything that might or might not occur.
Yes. Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Brad Connell, 1244 Castlewood. Just kind of curious, when's an estimate of when the funds could potentially be released? Because I'm on one of those 5, and I haven't been able to get my electrical panel yet, which I need to hook up to. They said until I can't get the electrical part. So just kind of curious as to my timing and time frame of when that could be expected.
I have someone that can address that question for you quite quickly. Mr. Potter?
Yes, essentially, because this is a special assessment district, we do need to go through the special assessment district process to ensure that said panel is basically funded. So unfortunately, there is no way to circumvent that. As soon as we're authorized to go ahead and release those panels, we will do so immediately.
Mr.
Supervisor.
the way
We've
the
got
district is created.
one more public hearing, Lisa, after this?
So this is the public hearing to establish the district.
District.
The next one will be to confirm the role, so it'll be about the dollar amounts. But
Correct.
yes, there's a public hearing. It's scheduled on June 13th? June 13th Township Board meeting.
Okay, once that, assuming the role is confirmed, at that point in time, we can go ahead and start funding. So, does that help you?
Much better answer, thank you.
Okay, yep.
It's got to go through the process. Thank you. Okay, with that being it, I'd like to close the public comment end of this.
Motion to close public hearing.
Support?
Have motion and support.
Just all in favor.
Pardon?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, just all in favor. We don't, you want to do a roll call, we'll do a roll call.
Don't have to.
You like roll calls, we'll do a roll call.
You want a roll call?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Scott Ruggles absent. Mike Powell?
Yes.
Andrea Voorhees?
Yes.
Liz Smith?
Yes.
Jerry Lilly votes yes. Mike Roman?
Yes.
And Rick Lowell.
Yes,
Can you, Lisa, pass those down, please?
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. Turn the air up.
Okay, that being said, we have the ability to establish this role as indicated
No.
by the property parcel numbers?
No, we changed it, so now you opened and closed the public hearing,
Correct.
so now you're going to resolution, and this is the one that you're.
That will be the establishment.
Yep.
That's 9A.
That's right.
Okay, we have a resolution 17-009, which will establish the role. Mr. Roman?
So, I just want the board to know, I've taken the, cost estimates prepared by our engineers and rolled those totals up for the 5 remaining parcels, and that's what's on this draft here. So we're looking at a total cost right now, that includes contingencies, of about $114,000. When this process started, we did let the, prospective participants know that some of the costs would be ineligible. In particular, abandonment of septic tanks, design fees which have already been paid, easement preparations, and then final inspections. So when you take that out, we're looking at funding right around $107,000 in total. And the intent right now of the township is to go ahead and fund that using our PA 188 account as opposed to bonding this out. So I just wanted to get that on the table.
Yes, very good. Thank you. Okay, we have the resolution 17-009. I'm looking for.
Yep. Yeah, before I make a motion, I know there was a comment about the SAD. So this SAD, at this point in time, is only going to be with 5 parcels, 5 homes. Those 5 homes collectively will be responsible for paying back these funds. And with that, I will make a motion to approve Resolution 17-009, which is the resolution to establish the Special Assessment District for Castlewood sewer connections.
Support the motion.
I have motion and support.
Yes.
Comment?
Comment? I just want to make a point that this is an extremely advantageous process for anyone that wants to connect into the sanitary sewer. It allows a homeowner to spread the cost of the connections into the into the sewer system over 10 years. So the township here is really trying to do whatever we can to make it as easy as possible and as affordable as possible to connect into the sanitary sewer. And I'm very surprised that only 5 people have taken advantage of this, and I'm hoping that the supervisor starts a new list of potential applicants so that we can go through this again sometime in the future to help somebody else out. So thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to amend my motion on the resolution to amend it as follows. Removing from Exhibit A the following 3 parcels. Y-12-34-331-026. Also, Y-12-34-329-328. And also removing parcel Y-12-34-329-043.
My support is amended as well.
Okay, motion, support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. We're gonna go into the resolution to create a special assessment district for the M59 water main extensions contract 5, 6, and 8. Mr. Lilly?
Mr. Supervisor, quite some time ago, we looked at people that were involved in prior water main extensions. And out of that group, the board had taken upon themselves to try to generate some revenue in a number of instances, both on contract 5, 6, and 8. Gave people an opportunity, one, to pay in cash with no accrued interest. Those that chose to could have a 10-year payment program, and we would drop the interest. And those that didn't want to take advantage of that would be charged the accrued interest to date and 3.5% moving forward. We were able, on a number of people, to be able to generate cash for their water main. And these connections are, or these people that are part of this SAD, are a large amount of the people that chose to take advantage of the 10-year special assessment with no accrued interest to date. So very happy to announce that probably out of 20, 30 people at least that were involved in each one of these 3 contracts, that we're probably down to 4 or 5 people that didn't choose to do either. So I think on behalf of the township, I think we did a great thing by generating that revenue and putting it back into our cash flow and giving people advantage to be able to move ahead without injuring our bonds or whatever. So
Very good. So I think it was a successful program.
Good job.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that being said, is that, you'd like to put that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind making a motion to, for resolution 17011, and declaring an intention to create a special assessment district for M59 water main extension contracts 5, 6, and 8.
I'll
We have a
support
motion.
that. I'll support.
We have support.
Just a
Andrea?
question.
Question?
Oh, did you have a
No,
question?
no, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
For Lisa. So, I was pleasantly surprised you did this on one resolution for all 3 contracts. Is that the initial intent? Was just to do the
One special assessment
one
district.
for all contracts?
That's right.
Okay, thanks.
Very good. Mr. Powell?
I had a question. Do we have an approximate price or cost for this SAD? Is there a financial number that, just out of curiosity, is it, have a?
That would have been the cost of the sewer main, the mains.
That was the original cost.
But it's
back then.
left over based upon the
Right.
14 people here, so that's.
Oh,
why I
you're
just-
looking for the number for the 14.
Number for the 14.
You'll find out at the roll confirmation.
Yeah,
I know I will.
already asked Terry.
So,
I
all right,
didn't total it up, I'm sorry, Mike.
all right, not a problem.
But
I'll
this is-
find out next month.
But this is already paid for, you know, the township.
Right,
already
I knew that.
funded this.
This is to reimburse us, so.
But I
Yep.
can get you that number. I
Next
just
month.
told.
All right.
Very good,
We're
okay.
still working on it.
We have motion, we have support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on. This is item, this will be item 9C. Thank you very much. This is the Community Development Block Grant Program. And essentially what this program does is we work through Oakland County, and this allows us to be a member of this particular program to help persons within our community that may not have the economic means to do some of their home repairs and different needs that they may have. Could be a furnace, could be a leaky roof, could be a bad well, could be a combination of things. So it's an advantageous program for us to be a part of. I do not have a grant figure as to what we may be able to acquire this year, but this is a necessary action required by the county for us to join this program. So I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Supervisor, to approve resolution 17-012. Community block grant.
Okay.
I don't know do we have the resolution right
Yes, it is right here.
Okay.
You should have one. It was a single sheet that came
Gotcha.
out. Okay. It was a single sheet that I gave you. That was a correction of that sheet. Okay.
I'll support that motion, Mr. Supervisor.
Very good. I have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. This will be item 9D, the resolution 17013, which will allow, in the event of bonding, the township reimbursement of expenses related to the particular bonds. Mr. Clerk?
Again, Mr. Supervisor, these came from the request of the bonding attorney that if in fact that this particular issue, if the township in the near future does pass a bond issue, that any monies expended towards the project of that bond could be reimbursable based on the needs of the administration.
Very good. Okay. Looking for a motion?
Motion to approve resolution 17-013 for reimbursement expenditures with bond proceeds.
And do I have support?
I'll support that also.
And support by Andrea. I have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Resolution 17-014, library reimbursement of expenses. And as this was explained to library board last night, this would allow them to legally reimburse themselves for expenditures that they may have put out for their bond. And it's necessary so that they can get some money back on their bond if need be. Mr. Clerk, anything to add to that?
I think that's fairly accurate. Like I say, I'm sure that the library has expended some money that most likely they may want to replace back into their general fund for operations, and this resolution will permit them to do so.
Very good.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 17014.
I have motion, looking for support.
I support that.
Support by Ms. Smith. Motion support, all in favor, Mr. Powell.
I want to make sure that it's understood that this is not the bond motion. This is the use of the bond funds when the bonds are sold for the reimbursement for the expenses, but this does not approve a bond sale, correct?
Correct. It's the same action that we just took on the motion resolution before it.
Right.
And we haven't even proposed to sell bonds yet.
Right.
All it does is allow ourselves and/or, the township, and in this case, township and the library, which is a separate bond issue, which is monies that can only be spent specifically on the library, but allows the library to recoup some of their funds back through the bonding process.
Okay.
So any monies that they are out, they can recoup through the bonding process legally.
I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood. There was a comment that somebody thought that maybe we were going to withhold approving a bond tonight, and the bond item's not even on this agenda tonight, so.
No. Thank you. Okay, we have motion, we have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. 9F, Resolution 17-015, the West Nile Virus Program. Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Supervisor, this is a resolution that will allow us to seek reimbursement funds from Oakland County for West Nile and participate in the West Nile Virus Fund program.
And this program, as you folks know, is the one where the county is making the attempt to eliminate or minimize the West Nile virus through putting tablets of insecticide in catch basins and trying to prevent any nesting areas or egg-laying areas for being effective for the mosquitoes to continue to breed, and also will allow us to have different, I think, off and things of that nature that we can provided to citizens if they come into the township. We will have some of that available at no cost to the citizens. So, was that in the motion, or would you like to?
I'll make a motion to support Resolution 17015.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have support?
Support.
I have support from Mr. Powell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, going into new business. Chief? This is the introduction of item 10A, which is the cadet program.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The cadet program was initiated in 1996 under Chief Ronald Stevens. The program served as an apprenticeship where individuals gain experience in the police field with the intent to work in law enforcement once they completed their studies. Unfortunately, the program was halted in 2008 due to budgetary concerns. Today, the police department is on more sound financial footing, and we would like to start the program up again. It has two effects, that positive effects for the township. The first is it'll free up officers, dispatchers to do their jobs, because many of the jobs that happen, car maintenance, any vehicles break down, anything that needs to be taken care of within the police department is often taken care of by police officers or dispatchers or clerks, because we're a smaller department and we don't have the assets that bigger departments do. So they assist in that, which will lead to the dispatchers be able to do their job and more officers being on the road doing their jobs. Secondly, the climate has changed in Michigan. The cadets that go through the police academies, there's not enough cadets for positions in the state of Michigan. So there's not enough graduate from police academy to fill the jobs that are open in the state of Michigan for police officers. This will enable us to bring future police officers in and understand and see how they work and what they're like and how they will work with the Township of White Lake. And that way, when there's jobs openings, we can say this guy is awesome or this girl's awesome, and we will be able to hire them from the cadet program. So it has dual positive effects for the police department and the township. Thank you.
Good. Mr. Rome, do you have a question?
Yeah, Chief, could you just talk a little bit about the age bracket of those that you would recruit, and also, I know this is hopefully not too premature, but where would you go to the high schools? Is this a middle school thing, or?
This will be a college, so they will have to already be enrolled in criminal justice program at the colleges. This is going to be a part-time job, but you will have to be enrolled in college as well. So they will have an interest in criminal justice with the intent of being a police officer. So this will be a bonus for them as well. Even if they don't come to White Lake and become a police officer, they'll have this on their resume and say, I know the inner workings, and I know how police the day-to-day operations work. And it'll be a 3-year stint maximum. That way they should graduate college by the end of the 3 years, because they'll already be enrolled in a program, and that way we'll be able to get new cadets in as their term expires. I'm sorry, the second question.
Just kind of how they would get involved. You mentioned the college, but are we going to kind of roll this out to the high school kids too, just to let them know that the program is out there?
I've been to the high school. I've done a couple speaking gigs over there, and I've already put it out there to the leadership programs, as like, if you guys are in criminal justice, look for me after your first semester, because I want you to work here. Because really, it would be great if people from White Lake were able to get this position and become police officers in White Lake, because they already know the community and they already know how we work.
Great program.
Grow our own, so to speak.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Mr. Powell.
Chief, you alluded to in your first paragraph here that the program was halted in 2008 due to budgetary constraints, and we all know what happened in 2008. But without giving me necessarily exact dollars, what are the expenses? What prompts the expenses of this program?
It'll be the salary of the cadets. So we're gonna, it's gonna be $15 an hour.
Oh, they're paid,
They are paid, yes. This is not gonna be something, that way they'll be responsible for their actions. They'll be paid a certain amount, and this is what you need to do. That way, if they do the jobs and do them well, we reward them for those, and with the $15 an hour.
Okay, thank you.
When we did this from 96 to 2008, was there a success that we were able to bring anyone on?
We actually hired a dispatcher out of it.
Okay.
We had an officer, cadet that went to Wolverine Lake, and where she's a police officer now, because at that time we weren't hiring.
That's fine, yeah.
And that's truly the goal, is to grow our own and to make it happen.
Absolutely, yeah, I was just curious.
Very good.
And I will say, I'm sorry, one more thing. The previous program only had one cadet, and it was a full-time position. I'm going to break this down into at least two.
I agree.
That way, it's a part-time position, and we'll get more people in.
Okay, very good, Chief. Any other questions from the board? Okay, very good, Chief.
Are we looking for a motion of
You
some
want
kind?
us to approve this program for you?
Yes, please.
Oh, I make a motion that we approve the chief's intent for the cadet program.
I'll support that motion.
Support, motion and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, with this we have consideration of a tentative agreement for the Michigan Association of Firefighters. Now, Mr. Clerk?
Just ask, is there any of the firefighters in the room tonight or out in the hallway or whatever?
Okay. Well,
Mr. Supervisor, been a great amount of work that's been placed in the negotiation process with the township attorney. The resources of Kathy Grosher, or my deputy, your office, and particularly on behalf of the firefighters, it's been a long negotiation process. And I think the agreement that was presented to the township tonight kind of mirrors that hard work that went into that process. It will enable us, hopefully, in a reasonable amount of time to man our stations, all three stations, particularly the Ormer Road station. That's the intent of moving forward on this, and I think everybody did a great job on this, and it needs to move forward to accommodate the willingness of the people that they want that support out there, and like I say, manning Station 3 that we've attempted to do for Lord knows how many years will be welcomed in the community.
So it'll be a slow transition, but we will get to a point where we will have our services as enhanced as possible for the benefit of the community. So
I'd be willing to make a motion to support that, the contract, tentative agreement for the Michigan Association of Firefighters.
I have motion, do I have support?
Support.
I have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. New business, we have Lake Point.
Do you want to let people know that there are seats? There's still people in the hallways.
Can you pass the word on? There are some seats up here if anybody wants to sit up here.
People who are standing around.
Or anybody else that would like to sit?
If anybody out there would like to sit, there's plenty of seats in here now.
Thank you. Mr. O'Neill.
Okay, thank you. You have before you the packet for Lake Point. This is a proposed project that has a similar name to a very similar project that was approved about a dozen years ago. A little less density here, but same kind of concept, which is a condo development. There are 57 units that are proposed, and the color's going to be a little strange on that screen, but you get the idea. This is right next to Boca Vina and Independence Village off of Union Lake Road. This project was at the Planning Commission on both May 4th and May 18th. There was a public hearing held on both dates, and last week, Thursday, May 18th, and those minutes are coming down and were emailed to you out as well. The Planning Commission made a recommendation to approve the preliminary site plan for Lake Point, as well as made a motion to recommend approval of the rezoning from local business and R1C. There's currently a split zoning on these two parcels to PD plan development. And there are some conditions. We're at preliminary now, so we will go into, with your approval tonight, we would move into the final site plan phase where we get into more detailed engineering and planning. So again, these are targeted to be empty nester type products. I understand them to be 2 and 3 bedroom units, 2-bedroom ranch units with an option for a 3rd bedroom upstairs. This is the kind of product that we're hearing a lot of folks coming in the door wondering about. So I do believe there is a need out there. It's very compatible with the surrounding uses, so certainly the department is comfortable with this land use and this arrangement, subject to all the final approvals. I'm not sure if the applicant is here or maybe in the hallway somewhere. If so, you may have questions for.
He's back there.
I see him. Mr. Cliff Sieber is the engineer for the applicant, and I'm sure he'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have for me as well.
Very good. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
You can move, Cliff, if you don't want to really be in the spotlight. I don't know if you want
You
to
can slide that
Move
over
a little bit
bit.
over
There
here.
you go.
Yeah, that's a little better.
I think that rolls actually.
A little unnerving.
Good evening. My name's Cliff Sieber. I'm the project engineer for Lake Point. With me this evening is Jack Nelson, the applicant with DG Residential Sales. Some of the board members may recall that in 2005 this project was in front of you. It proposed 89 units. They were 6-plex, and under that zoning of RM1 they were allowed actually a total of 91 units. On October 18th of 2005, this project appeared in front of the board, and it was, I think there was a consensus that the maximum unit count should be reduced to 78 units. Actually, I think Trustee Powell wanted about 72 units at the time. The project now is proposed represents 27% fewer units than what the trustee board was comfortable with. As Sean indicated, it's a total of 57 units, 2-bedroom with a 3rd bedroom option. These units measure 1,450 square feet up to 1,800. So they're much larger duplex units. There's 5 duplexes, or rather 6 duplex units and 16 3-plex. And we tried to do some things to try to open this up a little more. You can see at the entrance to this project, right here at the boulevard entrance, we have a building here at the south end and one at the north end, and the distance between those 2 buildings is 180 feet. We purposely tried to open that up so that as people enter the project, it's a little more open. It doesn't feel like an apartment project. It's just smaller homes. You can see some of the homes at front on Union Lake Road are the duplexes, the smaller units, and we purposely did that in order to make the view, especially coming down Union Lake Road, a little more like single-family homes. Of course, much larger single-family homes being duplexes. But the attempt was to try to open this up. The market, of course, as Sean indicated, is for empty nesters. We think these units will have basements, mostly ranch type, with an optional 2nd floor, 3rd bedroom. We also provided sidewalk connections to Independence Village to the north. We still need to speak to them, get temporary rights to construct that sidewalk, but we thought a connection from this project to Independence Village would get the residents from that project, retirement area, into this. It would create a little more interaction between an empty nester project and Independence Village. In addition, the adjacent road, Carpathian, we did propose a sidewalk connection to that street, just to provide that access. So with that, and I think that pretty much summarizes what this project is about. We think it's much lower density, trending more toward a single-family type residence than a large apartment complex. So here to answer any questions the board may have.
Board members have any questions at this time? Mr. Powell.
I can't let this go. Sean, is the Planning Commission obviously was okay with the number of guest parking that they have on this? I see there's still enough room, substantial areas that additional guest parking can be created.
They were of the opinion that the guest parking shown would be sufficient, and on-street parking on one side of the street would be allowed.
Oh,
and
okay.
they will be posting no parking on the opposite side of the street. So we haven't determined which side yet, but one side of the street will allow for parking.
Okay, that makes a lot of difference, obviously.
So they
Yeah.
can handle that on their own rather than involving the County Road Commission.
Okay. And then I had a question. Certainly there's it's split zoning on this parcel right now. Will it be coming back before the board for rezoning of this project?
The request before you is twofold. One is for preliminary site plan approval, and then the second action that we're requesting tonight is the rezoning of the project from local business and R1C to PD, plan development.
And we don't need a public hearing for that?
The Planning Commission held a required public hearing. Yes.
okay.
And I will say, though, and point out to you all that the development agreement that is necessary in any PD project will be coming back to the board. That is the only action beyond tonight, if you were to move this forward, that you'll need to take, which is effectively a contract between the township board and the developer. So you will see this again, but this is the last action, if it's moved ahead tonight, that you'll take on the site plan specific for the rezoning.
I had a couple questions. Mr. Sieber, do you have any idea, just ballpark, the cost of maybe the two-bedroom unit?
From what I understand from the applicant, I believe it was starting in the 280 range and going up from there. So, you know, upper 200s.
This is desperately needed in this community, and I need to move in. Is what I really do. And so I can't even imagine a better use on this piece of property. You've got multiple to the north, you got multiple to the south, and I just can't even imagine a better use. Beautifully laid out, so I wanted to compliment you and the owner on that. Really, the only issue that I have at all is the stormwater system. And I notice the township engineer has a number of items that he has, and I'll ask Sean whether it's subject to that. This is a retention basin system, and certainly you've been very creative on the numbers for the percolation of this system. And I'm okay with all of that. The question is, are all the storm sewers in here perforated pipe, or is it just the perforations in the bottom of the basin that is perforated?
Just in the bottom of the basin.
Okay, the township engineer has pointed out that there are some garden windows that are fairly close to the high water elevation, the design high water elevation in that retention basin system. And I share their concern with, if the numbers aren't right and something happens, we might have the opportunity or the disadvantage of the water rising to where it goes in those garden windows. And I didn't know if there might be an opportunity to make more of the stormwater piping perforated, so you direct less and less to that retention basin area.
Well, they're actually right now from the walkout basements that are proposed around the perimeter of that retention basin, we have 6 inches of freeboard, and I think they suggested that perhaps a little more freeboard than that would be appropriate. Certainly a foot is probably a little more standard. But the system does have an overflow. If we reach high water, there are some catch basins in these backyards that are purposely set at the high water elevation. So what happens, rather than any water backing up into these units, it will start to overflow in this area and out to Union Lake Road. So, and it is, basin is sized for 2 consecutive 100-year storms, which is pretty huge capacity. That's why that basin looks as large as it does compared to the size of the property. One of the other comments that I think was Ole Anderson at the time, back in 2005, had was that it percolates too fast. We had substantial sand indicated in the soil borings, and he thought maybe there's some way to slow that down. He said it exceeded the township standards for percolation rates, so there's ways to address that. Typically, you don't have that problem. You know, the problem is trying to get more percolation. So we plan to certainly work with Johnson and Anderson in order to make sure we conform with whatever the township standards are.
I think the township standard is more for not taking advantage of a faster perk rate than 6 inches per hour, because in 20 years it's not going to be 25 cubic feet per second. So I think that's where that's at. But
yeah, we calculate based on that rate, the 100-year storm would percolate in only about 2 hours.
Right.
And of course, as sediment tends to start filling the system, that time frame would be extended.
So I certainly appreciate the design. I'm looking forward to it starting, and I'm in full favor of this, with the provision that J&A take a good look at that stormwater system. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Roman?
Just curious if there are water and sewer mains that front your property now, and if not, are you going to bring lines south or bring them up north, and how far?
Currently, there is a water main that fronts the entire frontage of the property. So we do propose a looped water system to connections to that existing water main. The sanitary sewer actually terminates right at the north property line in the Union Lake right-of-way, and that will be extended across our frontage to the southerly frontage of the Union Lake Road.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Lilly?
I think Mike kind of touched on the retention a little bit. I remember for a long time there's a ton of sand on that property, so I can't imagine that there would be a problem with percolation over there. But I do want to see us start looking at, from the Planning Commission standpoint, in our bylaws or whatever, we're master deed or whatever, that the maintenance of that retention area, that it's kept, so that if there is any obstructions that get in there, or mud or whatever, that we have some leeway from the township standpoint to make sure that that's kept clean and working like it should be.
We will ensure that there's a stormwater maintenance agreement in place as part of this, and it'll probably be an exhibit to the development agreement, I believe.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions? Okay. I think it's a interesting shape. Looks like a diamond, almost a baseball diamond a little bit.
Is unusual shape, yes.
I'm very familiar with the site. It is one great big sandbox. And if anything, the water is going to disappear faster than anything over there, I believe. I think it was a very conservative idea to reduce the density for a number of reasons. We have had other projects that are coming into the area, and we requested those developers to, look into this in good conscience and realize their environmental and traffic impact in the community. And we've been able to have a few people come to light and see that that is a concern. So I think it'll add to the marketability of your product, that they're not stacked on top of each other like cordwood. So I think that'll make this a very successful unit, and I'm very much in support of it. So I thank you for bringing it to White Lake Township. Mr. O'Neill, anything else? Oh, Mr. Lilly. Go ahead. Mr. O'Neill?
Nothing else. There are
Nothing
just
else
two
to add?
motions, or two requests. Again, one is for preliminary site plan approval, and the second would be for rezoning.
Okay. Mr. Lilly?
I'll make a motion to approve the Lake Point preliminary site plan as well as rezoning.
I have a motion to preliminary approval of file number 17-006. Do I have support?
Support, subject to Mr. Lilly including in there, subject to the review letters of our consultants and our staff.
I'll amend my motion to include those.
So amended. We have motion, we have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see Cliff.
Good seeing you.
Thanks.
Next item is a interesting item. It is item 10D. Just when you think you know where your trash is going, it's going to go someplace else.
Scott here tonight?
No.
No.
I got an email, he couldn't make it.
Yeah, I'm Mike Probst, I'm the business unit controller, here to represent the public, and any questions.
Well, this is a request for us to transfer the township's contract from one trash hauler to another, and as part of the township's contractual agreement with Republic, we understand that you can buy and sell us. We're feeling very forlorn. You don't want our garbage anymore. So you care to explain to the public what you're up to?
Yeah, it's not that simple. I mean, we've been in this market residentially for over 2 decades, under various companies' names. As we've grown, it's been a great relationship, one with White Lake and other numerous municipalities. But at this point in time, to be quite blunt, it's tough out there right now. We're still going to exist in the market under commercial and industrial. It's just not viable for us at this point under residential. And we've thought long and hard about this. And when GFL entered the market, Green for Life, we figured that was a partner that we could work with, help transition smoothly all of our residential services. That's it.
Okay, very good. Any questions from the board? Mr. Paul?
Republic's been going around Southeast Michigan, kind of divesting themselves at virtually all the communities, and there's certainly an advantage to approve this tonight. Otherwise, we'd have to go out and rebid and start over again. And I believe our contract for the residents in White Lake is an extremely advantageous contract. GLF, I believe, is a Canadian company. And I believe that they are, and don't let this scare anybody, but I believe they purchased the Rizzo company that was in second place here in offering their services to White Lake Township, and subsequently was maybe infamous in some news that they were involved in. I understand that the GFL is a very fine company, and can you tell me, are they going to be purchasing your trucks? And obviously the service stays exactly the same, but what about their equipment?
Yeah, okay, to answer your question, GFL is a very good run company. I don't want people to get the impression this is Rizzo 2.0. It's not. They've taken Rizzo out of the market. They're a very competitive company. To your point, divesting, we've happened to lose bids to these companies. But no, trucks, they're bringing in all new equipment.
Okay, they're going to be the side loaders like you have now?
Yeah, depending on the type of operation that they need. It could be a Crotto, which is front load truck. It could be an ASL.
Okay. And are they planning on tipping or landfilling here in Michigan, or are they going to be transferring their garbage waste into Canada?
No, the trash is going to go to the exact same places it's going to now, Elkhorn Heights landfill.
Okay, just one other question. I've got a couple neighbors that your specific trucks are stronger than what the manufacturer of the bins calculated, and so a number of them are crushed. And I've asked the township here to see if there isn't some way that the residents might be able to get some new bins if in fact they've been crushed. That has not happened because you guys were in negotiations, I'm sure, with GFL. You have any idea what we should do with the claims of broken bins that, quite frankly, don't even work anymore now that we're going to GFL?
No, that's a great question. In my conversations with GFL, any cart or bin issues will transition over to GFL after the transition date, and they will fully support that.
And I think the transition date's June 5th, correct?
No, that's actually been amended. It'll probably be sometime in July.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had a little bit of an aggressive date scheduled for that, but we have to go before all the individual boards of the municipalities. exact same thing we're doing here tonight. And, yeah, the June 5th, which is way too aggressive. So it's probably going to be 3 days past that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, all right, any other questions?
I was just curious,
Well,
I heard you're keeping Commerce Township,
Yes,
is that true?
yes.
So did you just underbid White Lake Township, or what happened?
No, Commerce Township was kind of that unique community. We actually originally handled that out of our Wayne yard.
Okay.
Once Republic and Allied merged back in 2009, to kind of balance out routes, we moved Commerce Township to Pontiac. It's half a dozen 160 other where it's run out of. So when we were looking through and analyzing this transition, it made sense just to put Commerce Township back to where it originally was serviced out of,
Okay.
under the Republic yard.
If you can't just pass on my disappointment with Republic, we signed a deal with them to haul trash for 5 years, and I feel like you quit on us. So that's just my personal feeling. Thank you.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mr. Lilly?
Okay, I just want to know from the citizen's standpoint, my garbage day is not going to change?
Everything will be transparent as things exist today. Once the transition takes place, current service levels, current date of service will stay in place.
So from a citizen standpoint, nothing is going to change other than maybe different color of trucks?
Yeah.
You say all new equipment?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they'll be green.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a question from, stand up, identify yourself.
April Pockmar on 9857 Elizabeth Lake Road. In regards to the trucks, they're gonna be different trucks. Are we gonna have to pay for new bins? Or are they gonna supply them?
No, it's the same bin.
Yeah, it's
It'll be the
bid.
same bin, it'll still be a,
Yeah, no rates will change.
okay.
No service levels will change, no carts, bins, nothing else.
Any bigger, recycle bins? Cause that would be helpful.
So what?
No, that wasn't the original current contract. will
Alright.
transition.
Okay.
We'll work on that next time.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. That's it? Any other further questions?
If no other questions, I'll make a motion to approve the notice of intent to transfer solid waste collection agreement from Republic Services to GFL Environmental USA.
Counselor?
If I can request an opportunity to maybe work with them on the language of that consent and you know, whenever we enter into a contract that's this valuable, we do some background checking as well. So perhaps you can authorize the supervisor to sign it once reviewed and approved in consultation with council.
Did you add that to your motion, Terry?
I will amend my motion to include the review of council and Rick's authorization to sign.
Very good. We have a motion. Who supported?
Support.
Support. Mr. Powell supported. We have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Sorry that you're leaving us there, Republic.
Me too.
Next is item 10E, Reliance Building Company time extension request for Village Acres Water Treatment Plant. Mr. Potter,
Yes.
care to inform us about this?
Well, we kind of skipped ahead of the easiest order to kind of explain this. But because of some of the change orders, and as we discussed last month, we did not have a contingency in this project. We also did not authorize the township supervisor or another representative to approve change orders over $5,000. So there are some delays because of the change order to the orthophosphate system and the pressure pressure relief valve. Because of those costs and the lead time to order those parts, Reliance is requesting a time extension to get those pieces of equipment in and get those connected.
Very good. I've been at the site. It's made remarkable progress. It is a very impressive piece of technology, and I know that you have been pushing some water through there, and some of the residents have noticed some changes, and I know this is part of the testing process. So hopefully we'll be up in order before too long, and that would be a good thing.
If I can comment on that quickly, we're substantially complete now. We were running the plant again today. So we're able to run the plant essentially manually, semi-automatically. We have to be there to monitor it. We do not have the alarming package completed yet. But the plant does operate, and even though we don't have the phosphate bulk storage system in place, we do have barrels over there, and we've got a temporary pumping setup for the phosphate system.
Very good.
So we're happy with the work so far. Painters are in there today, again, working on the floor and the doors. Later on this week, the excavating crew will be in there working on site grading for the paving areas and the hillside around the plant. You'll see a lot of big changes in the next few weeks. I mean, really in the next week and a half.
If it quits raining.
Yeah, essentially, yes.
Okay. I also note to the public that this was a rather Herculean task to build this plant. And my hat's off to our engineer Johnson and Anderson for their guidance on this, and also for Reliant Building Company for trying to be as expeditious as possible. We did have a number of different supply chain events that caused a series of delays throughout this job. At this time, I believe that we are only 1.99% over the projected cost, and I will tell you that's pretty darn impressive.
That's correct.
And for that size of a project. So, Mr. Early, you have something?
Mr. Supervisor, I had an occasion to talk to Aaron this morning to try to explain all of these different change orders and credits, and I gotta say he did an excellent job of trying to explain to me something a little more difficult than most of us that are not engineers don't know. But as Aaron indicated, the question is probably going to be asked of J&A if the time that it's taken to complete this job, whether there's going to be any additional engineering fees. And I understand from J&A that there will not be any additional costs from Johnson Anderson. I did just roughly put some numbers again, and as you indicated, about 0.99% or about 2% that we've spent in extras this far. However, there was never any contingency really proposed for this project, nor was there any authorization from the water director or to the supervisor to approve any other change orders. I believe the project this size, that would be reasonable to think that a 5% contingency would be reasonable. And I know that we have requested, at least Aaron has recommended, that there be some additional changes to the concrete work and some additional paving for some areas that we have decided that needed to be improved on from the original contract. So I would like to make a motion for the board to approve the change orders that have been presented by the water director and authorize a remaining 3% or about $60,000 to complete the project, and to authorize the water director and the supervisor to approve any additional change orders so we can get this job finished up.
Okay, so that is your motion. I have a motion.
I will support. Oh, go ahead, Liz.
Supervisor, I just
Yes.
would like to add, excuse me, I asked Mr. Potter to meet me there, and I was given a very extensive tour, and we went over every single change order and why it was necessary, and they are all necessary in order to have this up and running and properly serve our residents. I was there a couple hours. I just want to thank Aaron. He gave me a wonderful tour. I saw every nook and cranny of this amazing system. So I just want to know, I firsthand saw these change orders and why they need to be done. And I just want to thank Mr. Potter because he is doing a fantastic job, and White Lake is very lucky to have him.
Do you want to put that in the form of support?
I would.
Good. We have motion, we have exuberant support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you, Aaron.
Super job, guys.
Terry, great job. Looking forward to having the water. And just for the public, the test that you had, what was the iron reading?
We've been averaging around 0.02 to 0.05 parts per million. So, just for comparison, the maximum contaminant level that the DEQ sets, secondary contaminant level, because there is no health concern for iron, but 0.3 parts per million is the level where you can see the iron and the water will take on a color. So we're less than 1/10 of that. We're finished up one of this plant.
So it's going to make a lot of water softeners obsolete.
Well, the water softener
Not
will
quite.
still be necessary.
They'll still get some of it out, yeah.
Yeah.
They won't work as hard.
But you won't have the rust, you won't have to use your red out salt, you won't see, your irrigation system stain all your rocks.
It'll make a big difference.
It'll make a big difference.
Okay,
Quick
great.
question.
Yeah, yes, Mr.
Mr. Lilly, did your motion both extend the time as well as
I did not address the issue of time, and we should go back and do that.
We should do that. You want to amend your motion? To
If
include
you
that?
want to take those both, or if you want to take them separate, I'll make a separate motion to extend the time extension request for Village Acres treatment plant on the advice of the water director that it's needed, and things are progressing well.
Very good. Ms. Smith, you care to support that?
Yes, I'll support that.
Okay. So I have a motion and support to grant the time extension as necessary to finalize the contract and construction of the water plant. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Okay. Next is item 10G, MMRMA renewal. This essentially is the insurance policy that the township pays for its risk management on all of its assets. It's liability, vehicles, physical damage, fire EMS replacement, property and crime, sewage system overflow, and just about anything under the sun that you can imagine that can happen in a township. So this is a annual premium that is more or less dictated by law that we have to have, just like you might have to have house insurance. This is the house insurance, or so to speak, for White Lake Township. And with that, I would like to look for a motion to approve our annual policy. Mr. Lilly? Mr. Roman? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to renew the MMRMA coverages for 2017 at a cost of $301,178. That's $301,178.
A motion?
Support.
Support, a motion, support. Question, Mr. Powell?
I didn't know if anyone might be able to answer this. There's a member obligation on page 1 of 6, deductibles and self-insured retentions, and it essentially says the Charter Township of White Lake is responsible to pay all costs, including damages, indemnification, and allocated loss adjustment expenses for each occurrence that is within the self or the member's self-insured retention. And I didn't know really what that binds us to.
We are part of a self-insured pool.
This is kind of what they're talking about as far as deductibles.
So we have a certain amount of deductible and things of that nature that we're liable for. It's much like an automotive or homeowner's policy.
Okay, so we have no liability when it comes to fire EMS, property and crime, or sewage system overflow. There's no self-insured retention for that, so we're exempt from those 3 items.
Correct.
But we're not in liability and
automotive
vehicle physical damage.
Correct.
Those are part of the state pool, member, self-insured.
Correct. Yeah, so we have to pay a deductible on those.
Okay.
So I know we just, I know Sean got in an accident. I think your vehicle was totaled.
That's correct.
I think we got back, what, around 26,000 for the vehicle. So, yeah, very minor deductible.
So it was, I was very satisfied with the process when we needed it. It actually came to work for us. And incidentally, we had a couple other claims of property damage. One was the old Township Hall across the street when the chimney was affected by that windstorm.
Oh, yeah.
And we had to have that rebuilt. And they did that without a glitch, and it worked quite well.
Good, thank you.
Very good. So, okay, so motion, did you support?
Support. I made the motion.
You made the motion, I beg your pardon.
Terry supported.
Made the motion.
You
I
supported.
supported.
Okay, motion, support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 10H, fireworks permit for Cedar Island Lake.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the fireworks permit with the attachments of the approval of the fire department. And this, I guess the fireworks will be on, let's see, I think they're both the same date.
I'm looking for a date.
July 1st.
July 1st. So both Cedar Island Lake and White Lake will have the same date.
Very good.
Did you make a motion, Terry?
I made a
I
motion.
will support that.
Are we approving them separately?
You just did Cedar
I
Island.
did separately.
Okay, thank you, thank you. We have a motion, we have support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Very good. Next is the fireworks application for White Lake, I believe.
Make a motion to approve the fireworks permit application for White Lake.
As soon as I find it.
I'll support that.
We have motion and support for the fireworks display on White Lake for July 1st. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Good. Next, we have a request for some individuals for Cedar Island Sheriff Patrol. Who's representing that group?
Marine Sheriff Patrol.
Marine Patrol, Sheriff Patrol.
Who's speaking on behalf?
I beg your pardon?
You're asking who's speaking on
That's what I'm asking for. Who's speaking on behalf?
Well, I think several of us, hopefully.
Okay, well, we'll do one at a
I'll
time.
start. My name is Laura LaRosa. I live at 10053 Cedar Shores, White Lake, 4286.
Excuse me, can I interrupt just a second? Can the video, can the audio be heard when they don't go up to the mic?
It's very difficult. It actually would be much better if you could step up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Our state does not require anybody 21 or older to have any kind of training, any kind of license, any kind of certificate. You can purchase anything you want to buy and have it on the lake 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, most essentially without brakes, all in one day if you wanted. Okay, our county doesn't provide the sufficient funds for Marine Patrol. So we have no education, no patrol. This is a perfect opportunity for our local township to help those who are interested in keeping our lake safe. I sent each one of you statistics that were given to me from the Sheriff's Department for the last 3 summers. In those statistics, there were 105 patrol hours, approximately 71 warnings, and 1 ticket. So, 71 times the sheriff could have issued tickets and fines, but instead has chosen to inform, educate, and just teach people, because the state doesn't require it. Not like with a car when you have to get a license to drive. So we, a group of people on our lake for the past 3 years, have raised funds and hired the sheriff, and a petition really isn't necessary. I met with you, Mr. Supervisor. I had Sergeant Jex from the Sheriff Department, who isn't able to be here tonight, and Mr. Shapani, who's also from the Sheriff Department and also lives on our lake. And at that time, you had suggested that perhaps we garner a petition of 51% of the lake residents, which would be extremely expensive to mail to over 400 or close to 400 properties at my expense. Also, you know, the not only the mailing, but the time if we went door to door. And to get labels, I went to the window, because you had suggested I go to the window and get some labels so I would know who all these homes were. And they wanted to charge me $5 per sheet, and there were over 30 sheets. So it's very, very expensive and very time consuming, but that isn't even the point. The point is there really isn't any need for a petition. There's no need because you already have a resolution and a contract that you guys have signed. You already, we don't need a petition also because no one's taxes, like in a SAD, you get a petition and you vote on it because whoever has the majority, you're stuck with it. Nobody is stuck with anything. This is 100% voluntary. If you choose not to participate, you don't have to pay. So we're not counting apples to apples when you talk about a SAD. And lastly, there's no petition necessary to ask for permission for the sheriff to come on our lake because if you read their website, they are charged with the responsibility of patrolling the lakes in Oakland County. They have jurisdiction, they just don't have the funds. And we don't have the education in place, so it's up to us as residents. It's a lawful effort that we're doing. 71 out of 105, 71 warnings and 1 ticket is clearly an educational tool. It's not harassing. And personally, I'm really disappointed that I have to come up here and beg for something that I'm spending my own money on that should come out of my taxes, but I get that, you know, money is very tight. But I'm not asking for you folks to help me do something that's illegal, immoral, unethical. I'm asking you to help keep our lake safe. I guess that's about. I have other statistics if you need any more information, but I did send everybody, and I hope you all got my emails. I know some of you responded, so.
Thank you.
All right.
Anyone else want to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Chris Simpson, and I live at 10043 Cedar Shores. And I will tell you that I'm a bit appalled that we have to be here to ask you permission to have the Oakland County Sheriff Marine Patrol on our lake. If I want to invest that money in the safety of my neighbors and my family, I don't think you've got the right to tell me I need a petition. And again, I'm appalled that you would even suggest that we have 51% people here to afford us to safely be out on the lake. And that's really all I am to say. It's not coming out of your pocket, it's coming out of ours. We voluntarily did this. And I cannot tell you how many people I've seen on this lake since the day I was 5 years old that were almost killed because people don't know how to operate vehicles, or they operate them while they're intoxicated. So, you have a moral obligation, I bet.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm James Dusso, 9840 Mandan. I spent 40 summers on the lake. We're right down in the narrow part where everybody likes to speed by, which is fine. It's so bad in front of our house that my kids were always told not to dive off the front of their dock because a boat might get them. But now we have the jet skis, but that's beside the point. We need the sheriff out there. It's sort of a no man's land. You got used to the kids and everybody partying at night. We sort of go to bed on Friday and Saturday night with the kids screaming and yelling and hollering, which they used to be my kids, so I enjoy it. You know, you get used to it. But, you know, when you get a boat going 50 miles an hour down the lake at 3 o'clock in the morning and they're screaming, you know, you wonder who they're going to hit or what's going to happen. There's absolutely nothing you can do because you can't see them out there. It's just pitch black. But we definitely need the patrol. I have a little pontoon. I'm known as a cookie lady's husband because my wife gives cookies out in the neighborhood. They just come in our cottage and open the refrigerator and take them, which is fine. We haven't lost anybody yet. But I think we need it. I know we need it. And we're willing to pay for it. And I think we should have it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm Linda Ray, and I'm at 10,001 Burgess Court, and I've been on the lake 40 years also. I am not on the main part of the lake, so I will say that. However, I don't know where our statistics are coming from. I am going by the statistics that were given to us over the last 3 years, and what I understand is we've had over 300 contacts by the sheriff with people and given out warnings. There's 386 riparians on our lake, so as far as educating, I think we've educated quite a few people at 300. I didn't know we had one ticket. I understood we had no tickets. So in and of itself, if you've stopped 300 people and you haven't had to give a ticket and you're giving them just a warning, then are we really giving anybody any real sense of safety? Because if you're not giving them a ticket, they're going to go right back and do what they were doing anyway. My point was, at the very beginning of this, and when I spoke to this group, you weren't there last year, Ms. Smith, but when I walked out of that, I said to Ms. Smith, who was running for office at the time, I said, what would you have done differently? And we talked about transparency. I don't think this has been transparent because at the last minute this came as part of the agenda, and those of us who had come to you and spoken to you, Mr. Kowal, and let you know that we wanted this to go to a vote simply because we wanted it to represent, this is a democracy, we wanted it to represent everybody on that lake. And if somebody is doing something at 3 in the morning, there's no sheriff out there. If somebody's doing something at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday, there's no sheriff out there. We have policed ourselves over 40 years. And if you can show me somebody other than the 2 drownings we've had, which had nothing to do with the sheriff, that could have been prevented, then I would be glad to have the sheriff on lake. And I told you, I would pay for it if it represents what the majority wants. The problem is, the majority has not had a chance to vote on this. And I thought we lived in a situation where we could make choices on our lake. So when we send out an email and some people say yes, the point is, who said yes? Which one of the couples said yes? When we're going for this sewer now, you went through and you made sure that every person who was listed had to say yes for that vote to count. We're not doing that when we send out just something over an email. It just says somebody in that house said yes, but we don't know if it represents that whole household. My point is, give us the opportunity. I don't know where she went because your office has been very helpful with me. And when I asked for those names, it cost me $12 for the whole lake. So I don't know what they're doing to her, but I paid $12 last year. I guess your prices have gone up. But in the meantime, I don't know what to say to you. But you can get labels from this. You can use them. You can find out what everybody wants to do. If not, call a meeting for us. Have people come out and say the purpose of this meeting is for everyone on that lake to have a say. If you don't show up, you don't have a vote. Something like that, but give us a chance to really talk about this. Because I can show you, and my daughter-in-law is here, she's got pictures of the sheriff sitting there while some nut went by, knocked another boat, and and the sheriff...
There was 20 people in a boat, and the sheriff was right next to them as they were overcrowded the boat, and he did absolutely nothing.
I'm just asking.
One person at a time.
Right. So if she can show me things like that, because they're on the lake all the time, I'm not. If she can say to me that the sheriff is sitting right there, now I know because Mr. Scapani lives on the same bay as I do, so it was his grandson. So he comes back periodically to get pizza and all the rest, so he's not there the whole time that he's being paid. And I can understand, he's a young boy, he needs to come back and get his pizza and his pop or whatever, so people get a break. So it's not like he's there full time and does nothing but watch it, he sits there. And I have pictures to prove he sits there. And anybody else who came out sat there. And all they would do is time to time go out and talk to people. But then when it got to the point where they were stopping people for no reason at all, and if I could get the Simpkins up here, they can tell you. It was an old couple on a pontoon boat going by. And they were stopped. And they actually stood up and went, "What did we do?" And he said, "Oh, we can't see your numbers." Well, he could see their numbers. It was just, he was trying, I guess, I don't know if he's got a quota or what he has to do, but just give us the chance to vote on it. Give us a meeting, a separate meeting with transparency where everybody can come out and they can have a say and then vote. And if you're not there, you don't vote. And it'll save everybody money.
Could I ask a question, please? Linda, right?
Right.
The reason we're very careful when we deliberate with people that on special assessment districts and we need votes and we coordinate exactly who is voting is because when we take a vote on a special assessment district, we're actually assessing them money. And it's very critical that that we're above board and open when we are doing that, because taxation without representation is illegal, okay? So my question to you is, and I grew up on Union Lake, and so I know exactly what these people are talking about, and I have the horror stories, and we learned that we didn't even go out on the weekends because the crazies were out there, and we couldn't even ski, really. I'm a licensed scuba diver, and I was down scuba diving, and I had this yank on my back, and somebody grabbed my inner tube and started hauling it away with me on the other end, okay? So so the question is that I ask you, if you're not paying for it at all, what is your objection, knowing that they could come out there at any time on their own anyway?
Lake.
It's a public lake. So what is your objection to the police department being out there?
I object to the fact that it was just a small group of people who made a decision for the entire lake.
Not a small.
It was a small group. We have 386 riparians. We had 26 who paid.
Okay, well let me ask a different question. Let's just say you had a billionaire that lived on your lake, and he said, "I'm going to pay for the police department to be out there 24/7." And not going to cost anybody anything. Why would you not like that? And why would you reject that?
Again, I would go back to the point I made at the very beginning, which is nobody, simply because they have money, should be able to dictate what everybody else does on that lake.
That's not, I personally don't think that's dictating. That's allowing somebody to assist you. If you had somebody that stepped up and said, I'll do it for free. I'll clean your water to where it's drinking water safe. Are you really telling me that you'd want to vote of the people before you'd allow somebody to do that for you?
I'm afraid that I'm believing in a democracy. I want to vote.
All right, I understand. Okay.
One meeting, please, here at a time. One meeting, okay?
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
All set? Okay. Yes, in the back.
Patty Page.
Come on around, dear. I think the microphone will pick you up.
Patty Page, 735 Randine, also Cedar Island resident. The whole point of this is actually, it is not a democracy. It is becoming a dictation, because our president sent out an email 2 or 3 years ago and asked us if we'd be interested in a Marine patrol. The answer was no. The majority people said no. So that's when a few people decided to do it on their own and pay for it. So technically, they did put it out to vote, and when they got the majority and they didn't get the answer they liked, okay, now they're gonna go do something different. And that's the problem we're having here. That's why everybody's upset, because they went ahead and did it. Last year, they had a meeting with a different board, or some of them, and we explained then. And she represented herself as a resident and our president, but we didn't know anything about it. And that's it.
Thank you. Yes.
Maureen Thomas, 9832 Coaldale Court. I sent all of you an email on Sunday night. I hope you had a chance to see it. I did get a response back from Liz. I am the president she's talking about. This was the prior supervisor who was here at the time. We were inquired, the sheriff contacted us, asked us if we would like to have the sheriff on the lake. We sent out an email, which is what we do on our lake. Goose Roundup, fireworks, all of it. It's kind of informal. We sent out the email to everybody who shared their email address. The majority of the responses that came back were in favor of it and willing to pay for it. A lot of people didn't respond. Some people didn't say, some people were against it. I tracked everything. I gave all of that to the prior supervisor. He asked for it. He saw who the email went to, the number of people. He saw how people voted. There were people who called the office afterwards and claimed they didn't get the vote, yet they voted, and I had them recorded as voting. So he saw kind of what was going on and said, okay, I see who you sent it to. I see how people responded. I see that you've accurately shown these people who have now come back to me questioning this, that they voted no, and went ahead and said, okay, I think you've done what you can do in your environment, and we had the sheriff on the lake that year. And there really wasn't any issue. The next year, the sheriff was on the lake again. I did not take care of it because I did get some nasty feedback from people, and I also collected the fireworks, and I didn't want to necessarily impact the fireworks collection, so I stepped aside and other people took it over. The next year, there was no issues, no questions, no complaints that we heard of. Last year, there was a public hearing, and there were some complaints, and I think that if there's going to be something like a petition required, that should have come back to us right after that public hearing, to spring that on us a few weeks before the boating season, to go around the lake. I mean, you guys know how hard it is. We're trying to get sewers in our sub. It's a nightmare. It's not an easy thing to do. And the fact is, if you say we have to have a petition, you can forget the sheriff on the lake, because there are people against it. There are people who want it, but they don't want to pay for it, and the minute you come to them with petition, they start thinking special assessment district. It won't matter what you say. It won't matter what the petition says. They will not sign it. There are people in our group where a husband is against it and the wife is for it, and the wife gave us cash. And she's not going to sign it because then her husband's going to find out. There are people who are in the group who paid, who also said, you may not use my name. If anything has to go public, I am not in it, because they have neighbors who are against it, who are in their face and very aggressive and very nasty, and they don't want to deal with that. They want to keep their neighbors nice. So here's my money, but don't tell anybody that I donated. So we definitely need it. We did the best we could, trying to get some opinions from people, and I think people did get their vote. They voted for you, and you did your job, and you signed the contract with the sheriff, and you came up with a resolution, and you said, we have to give you money, and we have to sign the Marine Patrol agreement. And we have done that for the last 3 years, and are ready to do that again. So there was democracy. Everybody got their vote. Everybody had their say when they elected all of you. And by the way, thank you for agreeing to our fireworks permit, but there was no vote for that either. Just a bunch of volunteers got together and raised the money, but I guess that's okay.
Thank you. Right there.
I'm Howard Gustafson. I live at 10455 DeGrand on the lake. I've lived there for over 30 years. I've had the privilege of working on my house for those 30 years, so when it's a nice day, I'm on the water. I use that lake probably more than anybody does as far as being on it. I don't think we have an issue with crazy people on the lake. There are always is going to be somebody that's crazy. I will go out there and stop people and say, hey, you're going the wrong way. We go counterclockwise. But most of the people that I stopped and talked to, and most of the people that were not being safe, were the people that brought their boats in off the launch and took their trailer someplace else. That's supposed to be a two-person launch, two-car launch. We've got tons and tons of people that come in there that shouldn't be on there. Those are the people that cause the problem. What we need to do is govern our boat launch better. We need to make it so there's only a few people that can come on it according to the way it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be 14, 15 people coming on that lake from the boat launch. And we can govern ourselves. We also need to change the speed limit back down to 35 because that boat launch is a dangerous place. There's no reason why that road should have been put up to 45. It's just now we've got a school, we got a boat launch on the S curve. It's just ridiculous that that's 45. But I think if we really want to solve the problem, we don't need police. I've been there 35 years being the policeman out there, and basically, like the lady said before me, if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, the cop's not there anyway, okay? The people have to govern their family, their kids go out there and make trouble. The parents need to take care of that. We don't need to have a policeman out there to do it, because he wouldn't do it anyway. He's not there at that time. So it's an issue I think is just, and again, I agree with the fact that if we're going to vote on it, let's vote on it. Let's everybody make a decision. I know a gentleman out there who lived in that lake for longer than I have. He had his dog on his wave runner, a big wave runner. He was out there and he got a ticket for not having a life jacket on his dog. You know what? If a dog falls in, you get it back out. I mean, we're getting a little crazy here, you know? We're getting a little crazy. Yeah, that happened. That is too true. You want me to get the ticket for you and show it to you? I will. Anyway, that's all I had to say. I think we need to concentrate more on the boat launch than we do a policeman.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Excuse me. I'm Frank Scapani, 487 Burgess Drive. Been a resident for 47 years on the lake. I also was a White Lake police officer for 4.5 years and 39.5 years on the Sheriff's Department. I ran the Marine Division at one time. I'm semi-retired. Been on the dive team for over 40 years. Recovered over 130 bodies. We've had 6 drownings on our lake. We've had several accidents. I was out there one time this year. There was a guy on a jet ski with 3 small children, I would estimate under 6 years old, on there. There were 2 guys hanging off a ski boat swim platform drinking beer right over the prop. You know, it's wild, but it's like the state police on I-75. When you see a bunch of state police people out there on 75, you do the speed limit. Probably the no tickets is my fault. I live on a lake and I didn't want to get all my neighbors mad at me. I asked the guys, hey, give them a break, explain the rules, but just being out there, people obey the rules because they see the boat. Before 08, we had $1.3 million budget. We got cut down to $180,000. So the only way we can patrol your lake on a regular basis is by contributing. We try to do what the people say or want on the, patrol during the lake weekends. Excuse me. I get a little emotional because it's my lake. I'm sorry. At high peak times, we can't patrol 24/7. We just don't have the money. And I'm the boat mechanic now and still the dive instructor, but I've got more boats than I can repair. Now, I don't need another boat, but I think it's good for the citizens. I've talked to a lot of residents. The people that live in the main part of the lake seem to want us. The people that live on the bays like I do or the canals don't care so much. I do know there's stuff going on before hours, after hours. I see things. I don't go out there and say, I'm going to write you a ticket. I'm still a police officer. I could write you a ticket, I guess, but I don't want to cause problems in the neighborhood. But it's a volunteer basis. We're not asking anybody. Like you said in the sewers, if we get the sewers, we all have to pay. We don't have a choice. This is just who wants to donate. So I just don't see the the reason you wouldn't want it except to break the law. And I'm sorry, I can't believe a dog somebody wrote a ticket for a dog. I mean, thank you.
Yes, Terry.
I'm Sherry Woodbeck. I live at 10052 Cedar Shores. And 16 lakes in this county have sheriff patrol. And you all thought it was important enough, with the exception of Liz Smith, to sign the 2016 through 2018 resolution and the Oakland County Sheriff's Office 26 through 2018 Marine Patrol Service Agreement with the Charter Township to facilitate the donors passing a single check to the township that in turn turn it over to the Marine Department. That's your total obligation. The fireworks, they didn't, I mean, that was a good point. We don't vote on the fireworks. We don't have a petition for that. There's people with dogs that hate it. Everybody hates something. But you all signed that agreement with Mr. Baroni, Terry Lilly, Mike Roman, Scott Ruggles, Andrea Voorhees, Rick Cowell, and Mike Powell found it important enough to do that, with the exception of Mr. Cowell, who has requested this 51% petition, which the Marine Sheriff has the jurisdiction on that lake. And I would say the majority of the stops and warnings, I'm sure, were weekend yahoos who use our public launch to come on the lake. I mean, we were pulled over, and thank God we were, because my grandchildren had on the wrong life jackets. Simple warning, we went to 4 different stores to get the life jackets because it was the end of the season. But when we came back out, I thanked him, because if something would have happened to my grandchildren, that would have been unconscionable. It's not the wealthy. We are not wealthy. We make a simple donation and pay for it. And thanks to the meeting at the golf club, we have much more participation because more people are aware of it. So, thank you. We're just asking you to re-up the agreement that went from 2016 through 2018 and just honor that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir, you've been very patient.
I'm Joe Ray. I own a property on 400 Coaldale. I've been on the lake 39 years as well, growing up on it. I would have to disagree with this gentleman back here. I think me and this guy are on the lake. Probably more than you, I don't know. We'll see. But the problem is, with your metaphor with cleaning the water for free. Okay, I'm going to clean the water for free, but I'm going to park a bulldozer in your yard for 6 months. Right? I mean, there's negatives to everything. Yeah, you get your clean water, but you've got to look at a bulldozer in your front yard. So we have to deal with getting stopped by the officer, even if we're not doing anything wrong. He's just doing safety checks. If you're driving your car down the road, a police officer can't stop you just to do a safety check. A Marine officer can. So it's not that I want to do anything wrong. I just don't want to be hassled when I'm trying to enjoy my time on the water. We all pay a lot of money to be on the water and have boats, and I work a lot of hours, so when I can get on the water, that's my time away. So I don't want to be hassled. As far as when the officer's out there, I personally, last year, was towing somebody behind the boat on a tube, I believe. I got cut off once by a pontoon, looked up and saw the sheriff a couple hundred yards away. He made eye contact with me. The pontoon turned around and came back in front of me a second time. I almost had to stop the boat dead in the water. And he saw it happen and did nothing. Now, I also would like to say that they're out there for 4 hours a week. So how is that really going to make anything safer? Because everybody knows where the boat is kept on the lake. I'm sure it'll move. But if somebody is going to go out there and do something wrong, they know the cop is out there. So they're going to go to the sandbar, and they're going to drink more beer, and they're going to sit there for 4 hours. And then as soon as the officer's gone, they've been drinking for 4 hours, right? So I don't see how it really makes anything any safer. It may feel like it's safer while the officer's out there, but as soon as he's gone, everybody goes back to what they were doing. the first year they were out there, it was funny. We were sitting in a friend's house right across from the former sandbar, and the sandbar was full. There was no extra parking spaces at the sandbar while the sheriff was out. As soon as he left, the sandbar was empty. Everybody was just over there sitting. So I don't see anything that it's really done anything. If he's just given warnings, trying to educate people, that's not his job. If you want to learn, if you want a boat, you should go take a boater safety course and learn the laws. They're not very expensive. They did one for free at the Novi Boat Show. So it's not the officer's job to educate people. You know, if you own a boat, you should be educated yourself. Just like, you know, I'm a marine mechanic. I see people do stupid things with their boats because they don't know what they're doing. Well, they should have been educated or talked to somebody who's educated. So, again, I think it should have been brought to a vote. Nobody else got a chance to say. And again, this is kind of a last-minute thing. I mean, you see the people here that are against it, and we had an hour or so notice of the meeting. So, again, if there is a vote and 51% say we want the officer on the lake, then we'll deal with it. It's the fact that these few people, 30 people out of 380, that's less than 10%, want the officer on the lake. And some of them are so ashamed that they don't even want their names out there. So obviously they know that their neighbors don't want it, but they're going against the will of everybody else. So how can that be? I mean, what's next? What other things are going to try and change? You know, are we going to have curfews? You can't use the lake after a certain hour, because that would cut out some of the other times, right? So, you know, how far can we let this group go before we stop them and, you know, and step up and at least say, let's have a democracy, and just like you were all voted in, let's have a vote. That's it.
Thank you. Yes, sir. I'm going to continue to take this public comment until about 9:30 on this.
Yeah, good afternoon, or good evening. I'm Kevin Atkinson. I live at 9808 Mandan Road. And before that, I lived at 382 Lakeview, which is also on the street. Fortunately for my parents, they wanted to move out here 70 years ago, and I've lived 55 years on the lake. I have seen accidents. I've seen jet skiers. I've seen boats go right between me and a water skier that I had on the lake, on line, 75 feet. Fortunately, it was a 13-year-old kid who was driving his boat. I went down to the public site, you know, the beach right there on Lakeview, where the dad was face down drunk. And it just happened to be the 4th of July weekend, and so they gave the keys to the kids and said, go ahead and have fun. Folks, what we're doing here without the sheriff is allowing parents, my generation, your generation, to hand their keys to their boats, to their jet skis, to their 14-year-old son or daughter and say, have a nice summer. Without patrol on the lake, that is what is going to happen. I've seen it. And that's exactly what will happen. That jet ski will turn into a babysitter for the 14-year-old, for the 15-year-old, who cannot legally drive that jet ski. Who's going to patrol that? We all know that the sheriff is not out there every day. But it's that thought that that sheriff may be out there that day that is going to say, you know, hey, Matthew, you can't take the boat out because, you know, you can't use the boat because that sheriff may be there. Even if the young man or the young woman goes through a boater safety course, he still legally cannot drive that jet ski. He still legally cannot use that boat. But when there's no sheriff out there, when there's no thought of the sheriff out there, that's when you're going to have problems. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Oh, I didn't even see your hand. Yeah, he conceded to you, so go ahead.
While you're coming up, Ken, Ken, do we have the ability to have a mic that can be passed around in this auditorium?
We do.
We do? Okay.
We'd have to purchase it.
Well, at least we know we can do it.
That's right. Thank you.
That's the best thing all night.
Yeah.
Jane Anderson Moore, 398 Lakeview Drive. I've met with Mr. Colwell. We talked quite a bit, didn't we? My big thing is I cannot understand why anyone in this room would not want a sheriff on the lake. He's not there that often. And when people say if something's happening at 9 o'clock at night, the sheriff isn't there, get on the phone. I did it once, and the sheriff came out. There were about 10 drunk kids in a boat. The sad part was, when the sheriff came, they were in. But you know what happened later that day? This same boat with all these kids went right through a ski rope, right through the ski rope. The police were called. The sheriff wasn't there then. But when the police came, the police said they could do nothing about it because they were not sheriffs on the lake. We need the sheriff. Even they're not there that often. They keep the lake safer. We have a raft. People come drive 10 feet by that raft. If anyone was under the water swimming, it's over. Isn't there a law 100 feet from a dock?
Yep.
People don't follow it. We live in a narrower part of the lake. I mean, it's just, it's sensible to have the sheriff. He's not out there that often, not that many weeks. Let's do it.
Pardon? Yes, sir.
I'm Lee Jeffkey, 484 Burgess Drive. I've been on lakes for about the last 50 years. Every lake that I've been on has all kinds of problems. But I can see where the lakes where the sheriff was out, the problems would go down. And I think it's the same thing on our lake. Last spring, I allowed the sheriff to park, excuse my voice, to park at my dock. And when I heard somebody say that they're not out there for 4 hours, well, they're gone for 4 hours, so I don't know where they are. But so it's hard for me to understand. But I feel that we have the police department come down our street, and every time I see a police car come down the street, I'm happy to see it. And it's the same way. When I see the sheriff on the lake, I have grandchildren that are learning to ski. I want them to be safe, and I'm happy to see the sheriff on the lake.
Thank you.
One more.
Yes, sir.
My name is Stephen Cooper, 660 Ranveen. I spent my life with law and order, and I'm really surprised to hear all this because enforcement is important if you're going to have rules. If there's no enforcement, then nobody pays any attention. To say that you need a petition, an affirmative petition, is an undue burden, I think. Make it the other way around. Those who don't want it, let's see if they could get 51% or any sizable percentage. It's like going on M59 and saying, gee, we've got all these rules here. Why don't we have a petition from the people who own property on M59 to see if they really want the traffic rules enforced here? And let's see if we can get 51% of them when we go to the store and the owner isn't there to sign, or there's difficulty in going back, and gee, we couldn't get 51%, so we're not going to enforce the traffic rules on M59. These are laws that have been enforced up until the unfortunate downturn in the economy. And this is the sheriff's responsibility. I've known Mike Burchard forever. He used to testify in my courtroom when he was a new policeman. And I have great respect for him. But I don't even understand why anybody should be paying anything to have the sheriff patrol the lakes. We should have police patrols. We should have sheriff patrols. We should have our laws enforced. If we ignore the laws, take Mayor Giuliani's approach in New York. He said, we have to enforce those little rules, and then people will know, hey, we actually do enforce rules. I'd better not disobey any of them. If we want to teach our children that there's no consequences because there's no sheriff, I don't know that that's a good answer. I live in the middle of the lake, and I can appreciate that some of the people who live on the canals don't see the same thing. But I'm at the point where they've already picked up as much speed as they can, and they're zipping off to the other side. I know that when we have visitors, certainly on holiday weekends, I will not allow them out on the lake at all because there are too many drunk boaters there. There are too many speedsters there. And it occurs at other times too, but at that point, that's where I draw the line for my guests. So I would ask you to approve this, passing over the money, which is all the township would be doing, is conveying this donation to the county because the tax money is insufficient to cover sheriff patrols on the lake. And if you want a petition, then ask those who don't want laws enforced to get a petition and see if they can get 51% of the people who don't want law enforcement on the lake. Thank you.
Okay, one more. Go ahead. I'm getting my people mixed up here.
He hasn't spoken yet.
Okay.
Diane Clarich, and I live at 753 Golden Shores Drive. I'm concerned about all the people who use the public access. There's only supposed to be 2 or 3 slots there, and every weekend there's 6 or 8 cars all packed up. I don't know how you could get those people to vote on this, because so many people, a lot of them, unload their boat and go down and park it at the elementary school. Lots of people do. There's lots of people on that lake that don't know. I think some of you need to come and live at our house and see every year the battle my husband and I have educating people. There's a sandbar that goes right out from our house. People come barreling down the lake 10, 20 feet off our dock, where my husband likes to float on his little inner tube, and our grandkids like to swim, and I swim out there. They come barreling down there. They hit that sandbar. When we first moved in there, we used to go and help them push them off the sandbar, but we got sick of that. So now what we do is last year I yelled at these people, back your boat up and go around the sandbar. Oh no, they couldn't do that. They continued barreling through there, ripping up the sandbar, making huge trenches, throwing up rocks all over what was a nice sand beach. We're so sick of it. Last year, there's a boy that's out there for the last 20 years that's marked the shallow water. Do people pay any attention to that? No, they just try to rip through the sandbar. Last year, some really ridiculous people, when they got to the buoy, instead of going out into the deeper part of the lake, what did they do? My husband said, look at them. They're going into more shallow water. They don't raise their prop. I am sick of educating people for 30 years. I'm really right up to here with it. And I'm tired of being terrified of my grandkids and all of us getting chewed up by a propeller because they're going 20 feet off the end of our dock. It should not be my job to educate people to avoid right on the buoy it says shallow water. They don't even look at it. They just barrel right through it, get stuck in the sandbar, look at us if we're out there wanting us to push them off. And like year before last, I got so mad, I said, back your boat up and go around it. No, they wouldn't do that. They just continue barreling through there, chewing up mud and rocks. I hope they ruined their propeller. Anyway, I'm sick of it. I think we need the sheriff there.
Can't argue with that. Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm Mike Markham. I live at 640 Burgess Drive. I have a question for the board members. What is the policy that White Lake has to adhere to sign the contract? Is it that there's supposed to be a petition? What is the actual rule?
That's a very good question, you know? And I would turn to council for direction on that in its entirety, but I will tell you that there's two contracts that come out. One contract is a contract that is with Oakland County to act as a servicer for them. And that is all that White Lake Township does is agree, and that was a contract here that all the board members signed last year. That was a contract that specifically states that the township will act as the collector and pass the funds through. That's all that contract is, period. And it's up to each individual lake to pursue a separate contract or agreement with the township to act more or less as the purser for those funds to the county. I guess what amazes me about all this is that you've got all these people, 400 some odd people living on this lake, and it is a wonderful lake. It is, I'd love to be on it, but I'm not sure if you'd like me on it. Some of you wouldn't. But irregardless, what I can't understand is that over the years, and I've been in White Lake since 1976, you folks have yet to be able to make common ground with any of your other associations. It's never happened. This has been an ongoing feud. I've been out there with friends on that lake over the years, and you hear about the people over on this bay and the people over in that bay, and it's like the Hatfields and the McCoys. What gives? You're educated people. You're affluent. You can think for yourselves. My suggestion, as I talk to folks about doing a 51% petition, is to try to force some cohesion in all of your boards. I don't care if you have the sheriff on the lake or if you don't have the sheriff on the lake. I lived on little tiny Mandan Lake. That's a spit in the bucket and it's private. And I wish there was a sheriff on that lake at times, myself, because of the behavior of some of these people. So to answer your question, the policy is kind of arbitrary. So what I'm trying to do is force the issue so that your lake boards, associations, groups, whatever, will get your heads out of here and form a separate lakefront property owners association. If you can walk out your door and put your toe in the water, you should be a member of that association. I don't care what subdivision you're in. I don't care what bay you're on or anything else. You really should be doing this, because if you did this after the 40 years you've been living here and the 39 years you've been living here, and I hear all this history, and you're making the same mistakes over and over again. I think there's a very wise person that said the definition of insanity is having the same behavior and expecting different results. Okay? Now, I'm not chastising any one person or any one group, but you guys got to get your act together, because today it's the sheriff's patrol. Some future time, it might be another event. You might want to have it, I'm just going to pull this out of my wazoo, you might want to have a dredging done. You might want to have some kind of major lake. You might need an augmentation. You don't know. You may need a major improvement done on that lake that one day is going to come, and your beautiful homes that you've all worked so hard for and you pay good taxes on because you're lakefront owners, and you're going to be standing there going, wow, what do we do? Then you're going to come running up to the township, whoever's here, and expect us to fix the problem. You folks have to fix the problem. That's the way it works. You need to get your groups together and form an association that, again, whether it's a betterment, whether it's an improvement board, I'm not sure what you could legally call it, but I will tell you this. If you have the desire to do this, I can guarantee you that I will help facilitate this any way that I possibly can, so we can not have these types of problems in the future. And so that everybody has some sense of cohesion and everybody has skin in the game here, because you all live on a beautiful, beautiful lake. Now, if I lived on the lake, my personal opinion here doesn't matter. But what has to happen is you folks have to get cohesion. So I don't know really how to address this, but I'm going to let the board members now kind of talk about this a little bit.
There was one person
Do you have one more question or anything else you want to ask?
No,
There was one person left.
Was there one person left?
Yeah.
I'm terribly sorry, sir. Tried to get everyone, and the reason that everyone's here tonight is because I wanted to discuss this. This wasn't something that could be just phone calls and this and that and the other thing. The people that have a vested interest or care about it one way or the other right now are in this room. Now, could we facilitate a larger meeting? Yes, but not in this building, okay? All right. That's why we need a new township hall, okay?
Good point.
That sign that next to that gentleman's head says 76. Okay, yes, sir.
All right, my name is Aaron Lanzetta. I live at 10420 Cedar Island Road. I mean, I've lived on the lake for roughly 30 years. I just left my parents' house. I bought my own house on that lake because I love that lake so much. I grew up on there, so the kids that I have now, I want them to grow up on that lake as well. What I can say, Rick, is I think that everything you said is pretty spot on. I want there to be a vote. I don't care if there is a sheriff, if there isn't a sheriff. I just want a majority vote. So I want everybody to have their voice heard. And then whatever seeds may lie, then that's the way that it is. But to have this at the last second without everybody being aware of it, I think is wrong, quite frankly. So I would just like to have everybody's voices heard and actually have a vote.
Understood, and I can appreciate that. Now, you see, you put the board in a very precarious spot, every one of you in here, okay? Yeah, we chose to take this job. One meeting. We chose to be elected officials. You voted for us and everything else. Well, people tend to not want to take the heat. All I got to say is that bring it on, okay? Because I don't care, all right? And what I don't care about is I want to make sure that you understand that I'm not politically motivated. I'm trying to do this for the right thing for people. I don't need this job, okay? All right? I'm semi-retired. I took this job because I saw an opportunity to try to move this township forward, okay? And get it out of the dark ages, okay? We had some people here that weren't very motivated and couldn't get some things done. We now have some direction that this township's going in, and I'd like to see it get there to make it better for each and every one of you and your kids and your families and your friends that come here, so that White Lake is a good place to be, a safe place. Fifth safest? Okay, I never get that right. Fifth safest city in the state of Michigan per capita. Our fire department, we're going to improve that. It all has a bearing on your quality of life. And does it matter what happens to your lake? Oh yeah, it happens. But when do we hear it from you? We only hear from you this very small window, okay, every year. This will blow by, and we won't hear from anybody again until there's a problem. Until you need an augmentation well, until you need a dredging program, until you need some sort of water control, something that's going to happen there where the county's going to come to you and say, hey, you guys need an association, or we're not going to do diddly-do-what for you, okay? So that day is coming, folks, so you need to get it together and do this, okay? And that's the bottom line. Now, we have this is our last season left on this agreement with the Sheriff's Department, okay? I'm going to think really long and hard about signing or even entertaining an agreement with the Sheriff's Department with any lake that doesn't have some sort of an association. So I'm going to force this down your throat in a nice way, okay? It's only there to help you. It's only there to help any other lake. You know, folks came in, I preside on the lake board, and yes, I'm going to be a target, and I can appreciate that. So I didn't wear my tomato-proof shirt. This is yellow. It'll show up very well. But the bottom line is, little tiny Round Lake, as small as Round Lake is, has got a good little association. They were in here. I was very impressed with the way they operated. And they truly care about their lake. You care no less about yours. It's just as important to you. And you have to try to work together somehow. I want to meet with representatives. I can get volunteers from the board to help mediate this. This is what we're here for. We're not here to throw something on you that you may or may not want. We're here to serve you. Last I checked, I signed the back of the check. Okay, well, I signed the front. Well, he signs the front. But, and him too. But I signed the back of the check, which means I work for you. So whatever decision I make tonight, half of you are going to like me, the other half of you are going to hate me. And whatever decision the board makes here, half of you are going to like them, half of you are going to hate them. Okay? Well, we don't know. But there's a group, regardless, nobody's going to go away happy. So that's just the gist of it right now. So I'm trying to work my way through it. Was your father Les?
Oh, was my uncle.
Okay,
Uncle Les.
I want to talk to you. Don't go too far away after the meeting. So that's what I have to say about that. Mr. Lilly.
So I'd like to just clarify, and I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. When it comes to the fire permit that was talked about tonight and got kind of a reaction from everybody, I drive over to Cedar Island Lake on fireworks night, and I'll tell you, you can hardly get into Cedar Shores subdivision. I go over to Mandan, you can hardly get down Mandan Road. You go over to some of the sub-streets off of DeGrand, and those streets, they're full of cars. So as a board member, my vote on this fireworks permit is easy because I see a great amount of public interest, whether you're residents of the lake or non-residents, a great amount of interest involved in that. I'll never forget the last meeting that we had at the
White Lake Oaks.
White Lake Oaks.
Yeah.
I tell you, I was so embarrassed, and not necessarily myself or my fellow board members, and particularly for Supervisor Brony, to sign a permit that he thought in good faith that we're doing it. But honestly, I felt when we walked out of there that it was a few that had requested the permit. Obviously, Greg signed it. Maybe should have come to the board, maybe should have been more detailed. But the fact of it is, I'm very embarrassed for Greg because he really was trying to do the right thing. And I have to defend your actions tonight for what you probably told people, and it was on some of the emails that several had met with Rick, and Rick had told you to get petitions for 51%. I got to defend you in the way, Rick, you're our new supervisor. Maybe that wasn't necessarily the right answer, but obviously the result is the same thing. What we needed is to hear from you rather than a few. And I think rather than coming to the board and attacking us, and I think a lot of the comment is, well, we're going to withhold the sheriff's department from the lake. I don't think that's true from my standpoint, and I don't think it's true, and obviously the board members can speak for themselves. I think we want to all make sure that your lakes are safe. I used to live on Cold Hills, and this was a long time ago, and I can remember even back then, you don't go on the lake on the weekends. So I know what that lake is like, and it hasn't changed much from what you people talk about the use and people come on a lake. It's a beautiful lake. I think that's what I'm looking for as a board member. What Rick actually started tonight was to get you people to come to this board to convince us that a majority of the people are in favor of the sheriff's patrol on the lake. And what prompts this to happen is this, as we indicated, it's not the agreement that White Lake Township signed with the Sheriff's Department, and it's not the resolution that the board approved, but it's the Marine Patrol Services Agreement that all of you that make this payment or make this application is what really works for you. I'm totally in agreement with you, Mr. Supervisor, that the people need to get together. And honestly, they would have made this job real easy tonight by just simply coming and saying, I'm in favor of the Sheriff's Department. Would you please approve this permit? it was far different than last time, because I tell you, the way, when I walked out of the room, I felt there was an overwhelming majority that attacked this board for doing, and the supervisor, for doing the right thing. So I'm just telling you from my point of view, the way I felt. And you people don't need to come and convince us of what some of the conversation was tonight. We know a lot. All we needed to hear from you is that you're either supportive or you're not supportive. We're here, and I'm here to serve you like Rick is and the rest of the board. I'm here to move this township forward. I'm here to make sure that your money is well protected. I'm here hopefully to see the future of White Lake Township. So I just think, as Rick indicated, you guys need to get your heads together and think about what you want to do collectively and let the board know. And this could have been an easy process tonight. But like I say, based on the last meeting, I felt we were all unfairly attacked for doing something that we felt was the right thing. And I absolutely agree with you that the consensus of people on every application, and as I explained with the fireworks, when I drive down and see those people, that's why I voted for that fireworks permit tonight. I did it for White Lake the same way, because I can see another, but you guys are so splintered. And it isn't just the group in Cedar Island Lake, it's the people that live over off the other streets, Beechcrest and some of the other little subdivisions. You just need to get together and prove to this board there's a consensus. We would have been here for about 10 minutes and this project would have been over with tonight. Thank you.
Andrew?
White Lake Citizens League, you guys. White Lake Citizens League. White Lake Citizens League. I have access to White Lake. I don't live on the lake. Great, great, great organization. Tom DeSantis is our president. We don't have any of this, and we're a much bigger lake than you guys. We don't have any of this indecisiveness. Last year, I literally called Tom or emailed Tom and said, hey, send someone in from the White Lake Citizens League to sign the contract. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. We get along great. Fireworks, July 1st. But with that being said, call them, contact them. This doesn't happen in our lake, and we're much bigger. Seriously. Yeah, we absolutely have some, we support it. The White Lake Citizens League supports the sheriff.
I want the board to talk. Excuse me, this one meeting here, and the board is addressing. We had 40 minutes of time that people were able to speak, so let the board speak. Thank you. Yes.
I'm gonna keep saying that name, White Lake Citizens League, you guys. We don't have these problems at all. We have a great active volunteering activities. So anyhow, I'm done. That's all I just want to say. White Lake Citizens League again. I'm gonna keep saying it, you guys.
I kind of responded to it because I did grow up on a lake, and I totally support the supervisor's position because the 51% that he's looking for is really to get the majority of people to initiate the next step and create something like a citizens league on Cedar Island Lake. In this particular case, I believe that I've been elected here to help ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens here in White Lake Township. And in growing up on the lake, I've seen the difference in the lake between having a sheriff and not having a sheriff, and I believe that there's a huge difference in the health, safety, and welfare of the lakefront people and the residents of the riparian frontage if there's a sheriff and if there is not. And I certainly concur with whoever said that. Doesn't matter if he's out there 8 hours a day, if it's a spontaneous in and out, you don't know where he's at, you don't know what his 4 hours are, you behave better not knowing if he's out there, he or she is out there. And I'm gonna tip my hand just a little bit and say that I would vote for honoring the current contract, but I would seriously consider not doing this when the current contract is up after this year. So I'm telling you that even though I'm a major in favor of the Sheriff's Department being on a lake, if you guys don't have your act together next year, you probably won't get my vote to renew this contract next year.
Thank you, Mr. Powell.
Can I make just one point, and just for the benefit of the board members? The application that's signed between White Lake Township and the Sheriff's Department is good for 3 years. The application that they sign with us is good for a year.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So every year that needs to be renewed.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Roman.
Well, guys, I'm going to differ with most of you on this one. And I always respect your opinions, and I get it. And I've always been a proponent of lake associations, but more so for SADs. When we require everyone within a group to pay, I believe that you need a vote. I guess I feel public safety is a little bit different. Public safety is a perception. If some people feel safer with the sheriff out there, I respect that. This is a public lake. It's not a private lake. And these people that want to pay for it are asking for public safety. Wow. I guess if I heard you guys all correctly, if there was more money in the state, the sheriff would be out there anyway. And to those that don't want it, I understand what you're saying about being stopped for inspections or whatever it is. Yeah, it's a hassle, but you know what? It might save your life one day when the sheriff stops you and tells you that whatever it is, your fire extinguisher isn't properly installed or isn't working, whatever it is. So, guys, yeah, on this one, I'm totally for any group that wants to put Marine Patrol on a public lake. I would support it. So.
Ms. Smith.
Okay. I do want to clarify, just for those residents in the room and listening this evening, of the process. We are in a contract. I was contacted by many residents of Cedar Island, and I responded to you that I would look into this further, and I did. What I found out is, because I was not part of this board that created the resolution last year initiating the contract, what I did find out was our job as just in a nutshell as the township board is basically just to be the go-in-between. You tender us the money, we guarantee it back to the sheriff department. That's our job. So we're kind of put in a hard place here, and I understand both sides. I understand that some people feel that their voice was not heard and they would like their chance to vote and have an all-encompassing lake board, which I really encourage you to do, because it will solve a lot of these problems and headaches for you, and you can come to us with a consensus. So that's our job as the board, is just to act as the go-between. With that being said, public safety is my #1 priority in White Lake. I was elected to serve you, and that includes to keep you safe. So I also would like to ditto Terry's comment that I also voted for the fireworks, because I want to thank you. What you do provides a community event to our residents. So it doesn't just serve your lake, it just serves all of White Lake. I too like to come watch them. I see the point. I'm a boater myself and love the lakes, and that's what we all love about White Lake, is our beautiful community and that we have access to so many great lakes. I understand to the residents that don't want to be out there and feel like the sheriff is harassing them. Our board cannot control that. Our board can't send you a nice sheriff. You know, I mean, we have no choice of who patrols your lake. We just contract them to patrol your lake. So I also want to address that the issue of last year. It was perceived that I was at that meeting at White Lake Oaks, and I heard all of you that commented there, and I listened diligently. I understand that it was perceived that a small group of citizens presented themselves as an HOA, and it is not an all-encompassing lake board. So again, I want to encourage you to try your best to set up a lake board. But with that being said, I think that the sheriff creates an atmosphere of safety. So we can't stop the sheriff from coming on there, just like we can't stop White Lake from patrolling anywhere that they wish, our department. So if you as residents call them out there, they will come. If there was money available, they will come. And if the money has been tendered to us, we should not stop them from coming. So I'm going to vote in favor of the sheriff department this year. And I would again encourage you to lake board and come back to us a little bit more organized, so we're able to hear from all of the residents on the lake And if there's a different opinion next year, I'm here to represent you as residents. So if next year your lake board does not wish to have the sheriff, then my opinion may change, or it will change, because I will vote for the majority of your lake board. So thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you. Okay.
Rick, just real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, two sides here, but to me, the reasons for the sheriff are much more compelling than the reasons not to have the sheriff, and that's why I feel the way I do.
Me too. Public safety is number one, and it should be what.
But at the same time, I don't think it's fair to put this whole decision on Rick. I think it should be a board decision. Yeah.
Right, and I want to clarify
Not
that
fair, though.
there was a lot of assumption that the board was automatically against this. That was a meeting with residents, with Supervisor Colwell, that sometimes the board is not privy to those meetings. We can't all be there due to the Opens Meeting Act. So we aren't filled in all that, so to come with an assumption that we all had our minds made up, we didn't. I can speak for myself. I wanted to hear from each and every one of you that wanted to be heard, and that I can't speak for Supervisor Colwell, but I believe it was a suggestion.
And it was. It was a suggestion. I wanted to see what kind of reaction it got. Good science experiment, huh? Okay. My job, I am the chief public safety officer of this township. Okay? It's another hat that I get to wear. I'm the guy that gets to go out when a 17-year-old kid kills himself, and I get to go out and look at him laying on the ground, along with the chief and the rest of the police. I'm the guy that when someone's houses catch fire, I try to get over to them to make sure that they have what they need, and I can do whatever it is, even if I can say, I'm sorry you lost your house. It comes with the job, folks, okay? So all the decisions are not easy. They're difficult. But I will tell you that I believe in public safety. And Chief will back me up on that right to the wall, okay? And I will tell you that I will allow, in my mind, be in favor of a sheriff this summer to honor the agreement that we have in place. However, you guys got some work to do. You got 1 year. 365 days from now.
It's actually 2.
It's 18?
2016 to 2018.
Well,
I wasn't
geez,
going to say
don't
anything,
know.
but you guys have said it so many times.
That's why we have her here, okay?
Thank you,
But you have to understand, you need to have cohesion. At some point in time, you are going to have a problem, a big problem. And you're going to need to have some cohesive thought processes and grouping. White Lake citizens. These people got it down. They will help you. I'll bet you their board members would be happy to speak to any board members that you have and get people on board and make it come together. It'll make it 10,000 times easier for you as a community to do a whole myriad of things, whatever it is. You know, one of the things that we're dealing with right now, and it's a small thing, but it could very, very well affect you, is this, we're going to be a member of, the township's going to join a group eventually here as we do a little more homework called SISMA. That's Southeastern Michigan Invasive Species Association, okay? We have a terrible, terrible, terrible time with all the invasive species come into our community. We're having waterways that are getting plugged up. We're getting all kinds of issues. We're having our own natural wildlife that are being hampered by it, our own flora that are being hampered by it, by being taken over. These are all things that are environmentally sensitive, and most people don't even know about it. And frankly, I wasn't even that aware of it until I went to one of the larger supervisors' meetings. Should you have some kind of weird invasive species attack your lake and you need to go into a huge program to control it, it's going to be another example of something that you may need to do. Okay? Now, I'm not a proponent of putting chemicals in the water, but sometimes you may have no choice. But that's a whole nother road. But it may be an avenue. That's another reason. There's a whole myriad of reasons that you have to get some cohesion. I would really, really like to reach out to the people that either represent or the associations that are there, or members that want to get together, sit down, have a cup of coffee in a just very relaxed atmosphere with myself, maybe one or two other board members, and let's see if we can help you out, okay? And try to put something together so that you people have representation. You have really true representation, okay? And that's what's going to be to your benefit. Again, this has gone on for years and years and years. And it's got to stop, you know, because it's only going to work for you if you can get it all together. And I know that you all love the lake, again, because you're all here. You wouldn't be here if you didn't care about it. So.
Excuse me.
Mr. Roman, are you all right?
I'll live.
You'll live? Very good. Okay. Yes, Counsel?
I'm just wondering, you have it on the agenda as Cedar Island Lake request for Sheriff Patrol, and so I was curious what your intentions were. And if I can explain why I'm asking the question, it might help you formulate your response.
Please do.
So the contract that was signed with the county, the resolution that approved that contract specifically indicated that the supervisor was authorized to sign conditioned on entering into this separate agreement.
Correct.
So step one would be having this separate agreement.
Correct.
So if you're not going to present that today, if you don't have it completed, then you're going to need authority to execute that if in fact that's how the township board wants to proceed. The second step in that is the contract with the county specifically requires the township board to submit correspondence in writing indicating what lakes, the schedule that's being requested, and a not to exceed amount to ensure that it doesn't go over the amount that you've collected.
Correct.
So those are the two parts to this, so however you want to proceed from there.
I do have copies of those agreements that need to be signed by the township and the organization.
Okay, very good. So, Counselor?
Well, I mean, it depends on the pleasure of the board. You can if in fact you want to go that route to allow the supervisor to sign whatever agreements and or correspondence required to implement your decision today, that's probably going to be the easiest way to do it, unless you want to bring the agreement with each lake board or association separately to the board for approval.
Mr. Who was first?
Personally, Rick, I think what's happened in the past, and particularly with just the supervisor's approval on the permit, I think it would be beneficial to bring those applications back before the board in the future to do that, just to be informative, so that we can see that there's a consensus of people. I think a little more difficult for you, but I think
well, that's one of the reasons
that
that
the team
I put
can
it on
maybe accomplish the same goal. And it isn't difficult to prepare these ahead of time, and it could have been on the board agenda tonight.
Well, I would still like
So
to.
it's just a suggestion and a discussion at this point, but from what I've seen in the last 2 years, it hasn't been a good process, the supervisor just signing, so.
Rick, my
I'm Charlie Horse, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it would assist you, and I totally agree that I think we need to vote on this, but certainly no other lake, because we've not seen any other petition or any other request yet.
Well, I'm saying that each one of them have to fill out
Right.
their own application, and that application separately should come to the board.
Right, so I guess my question is, and I'm gonna ask you whether or not you feel more comfortable. I don't necessarily want to leave you in a position to where you are target. So if the board made a motion to require you or to request you to sign, not allow you, because that still leaves you discretionary opinion, but request you to sign the agreement, would you feel more comfortable with that?
That'd be fine.
To require.
Yeah, to
require.
Require.
Right. So, does any other board member have anything else to say?
No, I'm good.
No, I agree with you, Mike. I'd like to put it to a vote today, and again, take Rick off the hook, make it a board decision.
Right.
So,
I'm not so worried about being off the hook, but I believe that you know, public safety is public safety, and I appreciate that from the gesture from my fellow board members, but it does show a sense of unity as to what the board is trying to do.
So that being said, Mr. Supervisor,
Looking for a motion here.
I move to require the supervisor to sign the agreement with the homeowners association and to fill out the agreement with the sheriff's office with all the data that they require to serve Cedar Island Lake with the police, with the Marine Patrol for the summer of 2017.
I have a motion, I have support. A motion, we have support. All in favor?
Roll call vote.
Yeah, roll call
We'll
vote.
go roll call vote. Yeah, okay. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll mix it up a little bit. Mr. Lilly votes yes. Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Liz Smith?
Yes.
Andrea Voorhees?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggles is absent. Mr. Colwell?
Yes, with explanation. It is the intention, my intention, to get your attention, to form some unity. That's it.
Yeah, good.
There is a fee schedule attached to that.
We can talk about it.
Okay, well, I'm just saying we wanted to know.
Mr. Supervisor, a resident has a question. Are you entertaining questions?
I'm gonna take,
The guy in the back there.
what is your quick question?
One year.
There's two separate agreements. The agreement with the county is 2016 to 2018. The agreement with the associations are annual. So
Okay, so we don't have to bring this back to your attention next year if we don't get the entire association and the entire lake on one association.
this township board authorized or directed the supervisor to sign the contract with the association for this year alone.
Okay.
So next year, the township board may choose to not sign that contract.
Right, and that's it. I mean, there may be people on our lake who purposely do not sign this because they don't wanna get the 51% deal.
We can't control that.
Yep.
Okay, who's the association? I live on the lake and I'm not a member of the.
Excellent point. That's what we've been
the point
talking
I've been
about.
trying to make all night. Call the meeting to order, please.
Yeah.
Where's my hammer?
Okay, trustee comments?
5-minute recess.
Okay,
recess.
5 minutes, 5-minute recess, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Get the receipt. Well, I see I got it here.
Mr. Colwell?
Yes, sir. To their seats, please.
Good luck,
Pretty
ladies.
aggressive with that hammer, Rick.
He has to take a break before executive.
The normal routine is what's going on.
We're
Yeah.
want to be educated citizens.
How would you communicate?
Sorry, Sean.
And how much does that cost?
I was just talking to this Roman dude here.
Mr. Roman,
Get your tush up here. Where's he?
Sorry, guys. Am I late?
you're not, but that's okay.
You mean you are, but that's okay.
Okay, thank you. I lost my agenda through all this. Okay, well, the last section is trustee comments. And I'm going to start off with Ms. Smith.
Okay.
3 minutes or less, Liz. And I'm timing you tonight.
Okay.
Nobody timed you.
I'm a supervisor.
Okay, so I'll start out with my library report. We met last night, and it was the first time that these two boards ever met and opened up the lines of communication, and that's so wonderful and it's so important. And as library liaison, I hope to bridge that gap and encourage communication because we both have really big, exciting projects going on, and they change the future of White Lake. So they're really important. So it was a great meeting. It was a special meeting. If anyone would like to see it, it was videotaped, so it's available for the public if you'd like to be filled in. The library meets for their regular meeting tomorrow at 6:45 in the lower level. And they're well on their way. They have a preliminary design. If you'd like to see it, I'm sure they'd be very excited to share it with you. It's scheduled to be, their preliminary design is scheduled to be approved June 6th, and then their final design towards the end of August. Jerry Harrington, the Friends of the Library president, came here and spoke tonight, and I just want to clarify that I believe it was, but again, I'd like to reiterate that no decisions have been made. There's no decisions right now. It's just opening the lines of communication, possibilities, exploring what can and cannot happen, where we can share costs to save to our residents. But as of now, the library is on track, as the voters have spoken with their millage and bond and proceeding. So I just want to clarify that. As I mentioned, I had a great tour of the Village Acres iron filtration system. It's very intricate. It's very neat to see. It's well on its way. I believe we're looking at the middle of June to have it running. So I want to thank Aaron for that. And then also, I attended and received a certificate from MSU just recently for the Michigan Water School, and that was really neat. And as we all know, water is a huge issue in White Lake, and we need to get a handle on it for many reasons. I learned a lot there, and I want to impart what I learned with the rest of the board. I haven't had a chance yet, so I just finished up today, and we covered everything there is to do with water in Michigan, and including filtration systems, invasive species, waste, you name it, we covered it in water, and water is a huge issue here in White Lake, so trying to learn as much as possible about it so that we can best serve our residents. What else is coming up? I want to make an announcement because I don't believe we have a township board meeting beforehand, but the White Lake Police Department has their open house on Sunday, June 11th from noon to 4. It is so much fun. I hope everybody comes. It's free. It's a family event. You get to dunk police officers. Trustee Voorhees and I will be serving slushies. There's free hot dogs. The balloons do, or excuse me, library does balloons. There's tons of activities. The kids can take police rides. I can't say enough about it. It's really fun. So I hope everybody makes an effort to come. I'm trying to think if there's any other community events that I can announce. Anything else? Community event wise, am I missing? I don't think so. So I want to encourage you to come to that. One thing I want to touch base on is I'd like our forums to be as productive as possible and about township business. I don't agree with those who wish to attack our board members for any reason. Sometimes it's unfortunate that happens. Sometimes they're political attacks, and that needs to understand that those are very real. Political attacks do happen to us. And I, for one, will continue to help create a kind and caring community, spend my time doing good, and to serve our residents to the best of my abilities. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you, Liz. 4 minutes, 30 seconds. Okay. Andrea?
We had a visioning session for Parks and Rec on May 10th. We had about 30 to 40 people there dealing with the master plan of White Lake. We had some good comments, good suggestions. It's in Sean's hands and Jason's hands now. Yeah, see, I see 2 participants in the audience.
That's what I forgot. That was great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Liz was there also. Yeah. 2 of my favorite social activities is one is Memorial Day at the White Lake Inn. We do the White Lake Citizens League, which is, I'm gonna say that word again. Is doing a fundraiser for the White Lake fireworks that we approved tonight. All you can eat breakfast, pancake breakfast, $6 for adults, $3 for kids, 8:30 to 11:30 would be great if we could all be there. And one of my other favorite social activities that I've been.
What's the date of that again?
Whatever Memorial Day is, I'm not good with that date.
Well, is it on a Monday
It's on a
or
Monday.
Sunday?
It's a Monday Memorial Day. Is the White Lake Social Club. I have to give perks to Susan in the audience. It's a great thing for the special needs people of our community. I just haven't been able to go. It's from 7 to 9, if I'm correct, on Saturdays. And my last but not least thing is I can't be remiss by going through a board meeting without talking about Beverly Spohr.
Oh.
She was our township treasurer from 94 for the next 20 years. She was also a trustee. She was with the township, like I said, for 19 years, and she died at the young age of 76 and 10 days after her 76th birthday on April 26th, and she was also the Historical Society president, amongst other things. So I couldn't go to our next board meeting without talking about her.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And you're right. She was a very, she's a very, very neat lady, and I enjoyed knowing her and, you know, being able to do a few things for her around her office when she was in office. So it was
I would
good.
love to see her on that wall. I've contacted her family in the last year, and I haven't gotten off first base.
Okay.
So it is what it is.
Mr. Lilly.
Not really much, Mr. Supervisor. Just for everybody's information, they are working on Williams Lake Road between Elizabeth Lake Road and the White Lake Oaks Golf Course. They're grinding the pavement, widening it out a little bit. That project will probably be finished up the end of June. That's a good thing that's happening. So I'd like to mention all the good things that, you know, meeting with you and your vision for the future, working on different projects. It's exciting, and I think as far as a cohesive board that we've got a good board. I think the questions being asked and questions being answered are very appropriate, and hope to work with everybody in the future.
Mr. Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I totally loved Bev Spohr as well, and just a little plug for that plaque or wall that we're talking about, the memorial plaque. She would be a shoo-in in my eyes for the first person on that memorial plaque that we might have at the new Township Hall. I just want to thank my fellow board members and those that participated tonight, because that, quite frankly, is the kind of discussion that it just thrills me to see residents come and discuss the issues tonight. And so that Cedar Island, as long as the police department had his gun ready, but it was really a great discussion here for the board, and we love hearing that from two different sides. I wanted to also thank the library board, because I think that was a great meeting last night. Obviously, for the first discussion, there were taking of sides and things like that, but we need many, many more discussions like that, and I would love to have another meeting with them, with all the experts, so that we can discuss that with knowledgeable people there that we can ask questions of and get the pros and cons of all the different issues that came up last night. So I wanted to thank the library board for that. And then I had a question for Lisa, our council. A resident emailed me and several others and questioned my representation that we can in fact send emails back and forth and discuss things in private and at meetings and at events. He challenged that I was wrong in representing the fact that we can do that, and I represented we can't. And I wanted some statement from you. Was I right or wrong in that we're not allowed to email back and forth and discuss projects and decisions that are going to be made at the township board level?
No, you're not incorrect. Any deliberation has to be had in an open meeting unless it qualifies for something that falls under the exemption for going into executive session. Other than that, all of your deliberations must be in public.
Okay, thank you. And that's it, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you, amazing, under 3 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
how about that?
Mr. Roman.
I just want to thank the entire board for all your efforts and input at the joint library meeting. I thought it was really good that we opened up communications. Rick, I especially appreciate your efforts and your presentation on the idea of forming a committee to really look into a township campus and how we can best plan it out and build it. I know there's some of the library people and supporters that might be upset because their timeline is affected, and I understand the frustration, but guys, I feel that as trustees for the township, we are supposed to look out for the best interests of the community as a whole. I think that's what we're doing. I believe if we can get economies of scale and some synergies and create some savings, substantial savings for our taxpayers, I think we're just doing our job. And let's all remember, White Lake's got a lot of taxpayers that are on fixed incomes. As much savings as we can get them, it will be appreciated. So thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, well, first of all, I always like to thank everyone that participates in the crowd. Tonight was a little bit different. I certainly wasn't trying to be crass in any sort towards anyone. My intention with the Cedar Island Lake issue was to draw attention to it, and I was successful at my endeavor. And it's very important that we have some cohesion in our community in different things. Whether it's a lake board, whether it's a possible joint civic center, whether we build facilities for police and fire joint. Cohesion makes things function a little bit better. And when you get into the lakes areas, one of the things that concerns me is there's always been issues on every lake at some point in time. Something just comes up. That's Mother Nature. And when you don't have a board that can operate in the best interest as a united front, it's going to make it very difficult to deal with things at the time when that problem occurs. It may not ever occur, but you need to be prepared. You need to be able to have that cohesion so that you can move forward. So with that, I'm hoping that the folks on Cedar Island Lake, the people that are in the associations, we had a gentleman that came up here while we were standing at the counter, and he said, "What association am I in?"
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He had no idea. He doesn't know. Mm-hmm. And that's the type of thing that you want to try to correct. I had another incident today. We had a homeowner call, and my executive assistant, she told me, she says, "I have a question for you. It's a Cedar Island Lake question. I thought, okay, it's going to be the sheriff thing. She goes, no, it's not the sheriff thing. They don't know which side of their lot to put the dock on. Now, I know that sounds simple, but that's the honest truth. So someone needed some direction, whether the dock should be on the left of their lot, the center of their lot, or the right of their lot. And they had no one to ask. And that is the gospel truth. So that's why it's important to have these types of things and try to make it all work. I want to thank the library board for entertaining my thought processes of a joint special meeting. I surprisingly come to find out that no one can tell me if that's ever happened before. No one seems to know that I've talked to. So I thought it was high time for that to happen. And again, that conjoining of a couple of boards with a lot of smart people that can come up with an idea one way or the other and try to do what's in the best interest for the community and the most economic means. There is economies of scale, whether it's you're in the same building or whether you share a parking lot or whether you share other facilities. There's always economies of scale. Our challenges of today are not just today. We don't know what the challenges of tomorrow are going to be. And you're better to be prepared and move forward with a plan than be thrust to try to create a plan at the last minute. So, as I always say to the planning department, fail to plan, plan to fail. And that is exactly what it is. So, I thank all of you tonight for coming. All those that left, all those that you left, I appreciate you being here. And Carol, if you're out there somewhere, I love you. And have a great night, okay? And to that, I would like to say that we are going to...
Someone has to make a motion.
I know, we're going to make a motion here as soon as I find my stuff. I need a motion to go into executive session.
2.
I haven't seen one. Yes, go ahead, you can borrow that. Oh, yes.
Would you like me to make a motion?
Mr. Lilly, please
Oh,
do.
you want?
Go ahead, Terry.
Okay, go ahead.
To make a motion to recess into closed session to consider attorney-client privileged communication in accordance with MCL 15.268H.
I'll support that.
Roll call vote.
Andrea Boyce?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Supervisor?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lilly votes yes. Liz?
Yes.
We are now going into closed session. Thank you.